NFL owners meeting down in West Palm Beach, Florida. I heard a lot. I don't know about you guys, but I heard a bunch. We're going to talk about it all. Let's get it cracking. Yo, 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 no maniacs, super no maniacs, and all in between. Welcome to another edition of Some Extra Sauce. This is really my favorite show of the week. We do Nomad at Night. We do right now we're doing Feed the Bears. But this is definitely my favorite time of the week because we just get to come in here and talk about Bears and everything else under the sun, weather, and whatever else comes out of our mouths at that given time. But man, the particular focus for the night. And Trip's going to be with us here in a minute. He's waiting on a package delivery. You know how that goes. You better make sure your stuff gets to your door and nobody else gets it. And so that's just one of them things he's going through right now. But he will be with us here in a minute. But down talking about specifically these owners meetings, there was a lot said down there between Kevin Warren, Ryan Poles, freaking George McCaskey, Ben Johnson. I don't know that Dennis Allen spoke, kids, but I heard a ton. And some of it, we're going to get into conversations about specific things that were said down there. And I think it's going to be a fun conversation because it's going to be about interpretation. But I feel like we've moved closer, as far as I'm concerned, with the draft picks and looking at these prospects. I feel like I'm closer to where I need to be as far as what I should be looking for. I felt like I was right there in the groove in the first place, kids. But listening to them talk, listening to how they got these 30 visits set up, looking at how they got that thing set up, I feel really good about the direction we've taken this off season. And where we're going, I think is right there in the groove of what they're doing right now. So I'm really proud of what we do over here right now. Just not just me, what we all do over here. And it's definitely in the pocket, man. It's definitely in the pocket. But we're going to talk about all of that stuff and more. What Ben Johnson said probably kind of shook everybody up with the whole thing with Tyler Warren. And we're going to get into all that stuff specifically here shortly, kids. But let me pass the rock over to my guy in Canada, man. Let him give out some pleasantries and give some shout outs right quick.
Oh, hey, Wednesday night. Time for some extra sauce. Thanks for representing with us, all y'all. We are multi-streaming one more time. Back here at the Nomad Network and in conjunction with at Keds Canuck on YouTube. By all means, filter in, get your popcorn, get your fingers ready for all sorts of, jazz in that chat. Get the community sparking and firing shots and all that good stuff. Big love to everybody in the chat as of just about now. Just give a little bit of love to you guys, starting out with our guy, Triple R. I was actually going to say FFG, but there's Triple R. So big love to him. Big love to FFG Style. It was the first No Maniac in the chat. And one of our favorite No Maniacs who also contributes to the network. So big shout out to FFG. Shout out to our guy, Nick Rembert, who's also out there. Derek Guy, Super No Maniac, what it do, my guy? Smitty Q, what it do? Ron C in the place to be. Mr. Mayhem's out there with us. The good minister, Charles Johnson, is holding it down with us. Paul Rodriguez is with us. What's going on, guys, man? As more folks filter in and join the show, we'll continue to give you guys as much love as you guys give us. But most definitely, all kinds of madness this over the past couple of days. Two big shout outs. One to a Mr. Canellis and a Mr. Adam Hogue for getting some really good interview stuff done. I suppose a couple more shout outs should go to Chris Sims and his lawyer friend. But yeah, like there's some really, really awesome Bears content this week for us all to sort of drink in and diffuse and figure out. Shout out to Stephen Boyd and Joseph Archer who just jumped in. But yeah, lots for us to communicate about, lots for us to talk about, and things are starting to take shape as far as this draft, which is upcoming in less than 30 days. Triple R, what's popping? What
up, young man? What up, kids? All the No Maniacs out there. It's this not the dog days of summer, but it's the dog days of the off season.
Right.
As you know, it's like, all right, I think my wide receiver 4 is this dude. You don't like that wide receiver 4? Well, you're a dumbass. And that's where we are now. That's where we are. So I look forward to more of that conversation and more as the owners' meetings took place this week, and we got the quotes and let's break it all down. Bears style. And speaking of styles, Sports Chicago Style. That's my channel. That's the website. All the social medias. Give it a subscribe and all that good stuff.
Hey, listen, man, this is going to be a fun show, man, because I'm guaranteeing the commentary that I'm going to inspire with the topics that I bring up is going to, first of all, before we get into all that, man, make sure you guys came into the house and wipe your feet on the rug and hit the like button. Make sure you did that, man. That's what you do when you come to somebody's home. This is our house over here, man. And if you're new to the channel, or if you listening to the show and you want to chat and you just want to be involved in the conversations that we're having, just simply hit the subscribe button and come on in here. Pop that thing and just jump in. It's hella conversation and everybody's welcome. I say that every week because I mean it every week. Everybody is welcome to the conversation. Just hit the subscribe button and you're part of this community, man. But really quickly, man, I don't want to get into specifics about what was said. And, because we got the whole show to do that. There was some twists and turns in the conversation that we're going to get into, Cares and Trips. But before we get there, man, we just got to get personal about, hey, what's been going on, man? Kids, how's your life? How's family? How's everything going? Let's do that before we just be people for a second, and then we'll be Bears fans.
Oh, man. Well, I suppose we'll do a roundabout with me. So we'll start with, first off, your president's crazy. My prime minister is like a card-carrying member of the WWEF, not the WWF, not to be confused. My nephew, who I told you about some time ago, who was in a crazy car accident, has survived this car accident, y'all, and is slowly coming back to consciousness. He's been in a coma, and now he's starting to he can read and recognize stuff, and he's starting to speak in sentences. It's crazy wild. My son has finally gone back to Calgary. Right? I was telling y'all, I didn't know how, if he'd ever make it back. He needed to go back. And me saying that to y'all months ago, I was bang on right. He stayed here for about 3 months. He was here up until March 22nd, but he's back. Finally got back to football. He's doing the darn thing for the Dinos again in Calgary University. Shout outs to him. Yeah, that's sort of the bulk of what I'll start with, man. So it's been you know what I mean? It's been an interesting couple of months here in Canada. That much I can tell you. And for the good and for the better and for the worse, I'm with the roller coaster. So let's just I'm down for the ride. You know what I mean? That's me.
Well, everything's everything, which is everything. The status quo is not always bad. Excuse me. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you there, Canada, because we don't know what the fuck this dude is doing. Day to day, who can tell? And if you say something wrong, you get snatched up and sent to El Salvador, and there's some crazy shit going on down here. On south of your southern border there, because the America that we grew up in is changing right before our very eyes.
But changing to what?
To more of a
authoritarian. Yes, I'm with you.
Authoritarian, fascist, oligarchy kind of thing. Where they want the kind of shit that Putin has, just being a dictator, and all the rich people run everything and make the money off of us worker bees. And and enforce the laws on us worker bees, and the laws for them is like a mere fine, inconvenience. So there's going to be another revolution where it's not, us throwing
Russia 2.0 in the chat.
in the harbor. It's going to be more of a class warfare kind of thing, if you will, rich versus poor, haves nots.
So that one has been on the horizon for the longest time, and it's been sort of disguised by the race war, if you will. So like I could smell that one coming from a mile away. My question is like, to what end? Like, what are we really doing here? So big question. What the hell is Vance doing with Denmark? Or sorry, Greenland. So
it's the
I've
same
been
thing.
to Denmark. Hold on. I've been to Denmark personally. And I sat down with some Danes and we kicked it. We were doing business and we broke bread. And while we're breaking bread, we started talking about stuff like taxes. And Mr. Dane was like, Mr. Keds, what's taxes like in Canada? And taxes in Canada versus taxes in the US versus taxes in a Danish state are three different things. So they live in what you would call a democratic, a socialist democratic society. I think that's what they're called. Democratic socialists. All right. So Buddy turned around and he's like, they tax us 65% of our wages. And I was like, are you kidding? Like, them's fighting words, bro. Because I'm like at a 35%, and it's tough. You know what I'm saying? Way different than what you guys are experiencing. So I'm like, 65, that's almost twice what I'm dealing with. What the hell are they doing? And he goes, well, here's what they're doing. Basically, we get full education. If we screw up, we can go back to school, and they pay for it all. It all comes out of the money we're giving them. And, we get full health care. And like, I was like, this is okay. If you stack in full-on education in that mix, that's not terrible. I can understand 65% tax. And he's like, it also comes with like some level of like insurance on top of that. So I was like, it's an interesting flex. If we're talking about you're educated, you have a job, they basically built you into that job, and now you're off to the races doing what you need to do. Unfortunately or fortunately, you're now paying for everybody else to do the exact same. So the level of society is a little bit higher than you would think it is, but at the same time, you're coughing up 65% of your earnings. So it all kind of evens out. It was weird. It was a really interesting conversation I had when I was there. And then I came back to Canada and I started to put it together. I was like, oh, well, like we're like low-level capitalist socialists. That's kind of like what we are. Whereas y'all are just straight up capitalists.
Well, you know something, man? Because the one thing I'm gonna tell the No Maniacs is I have no appetite for these conversations right now, but I know my bros they're passionate about it. You can hear it. Listening to them talk, they're passionate about it. And who am I to get in the way of that conversation? But I know my guy from Canada, man. He's extremely passionate about it, and it can go on for a long time. And I'm gonna do an interesting ass spin on this shit because I quite frankly, I'm trying to disassociate. I'm voting. That's what I do, and whatever I can contribute by way of inspiring people. I use my Facebook page for those reasons and things like that privately. I do things like that just to get people up and don't be apathetic about shit. You know what I mean? That's, to me, that's like the biggest problem right now is apathy. People just not giving a shit because they just don't think that what they do and what they think and what they can bring to the process would work, would help. And if you can get a large percentage of the population to think that your vote doesn't count, it doesn't matter. It's fixed, it's rigged, and all that other type of bullshit that people keep spinning out here. I spend quite a bit of time personally when I'm talking to people, when I'm out and engaging with people. I do quite a bit of that, man. That's just who I am as a human. And I don't want to get carried away into this conversation because I'm football centric, right? Like a motherfucker right now. And I can't wait to get to the Bears conversation. But just to put a bow on it, unless you guys got another take to it, the apathy out there, I am trying my human best as one individual to change that dynamic, man. And I feel like I don't know what it is I can do, but I feel like I'm real close to breaking the ceiling, man, on that, man, and getting people, regular people who don't think that they should even pay attention to this stuff, getting them active and involved, and so that you don't have all this, man.
Well, you know what I hope that Nomad is. And this will tie into Kansas' question as he brought it up, and I'll segue us into football. Watch me work. All right, so the apathy. That happens when you dumb down the society. I'm old enough to remember when the Department of Education and the public schools provided a decent education, whether it be technical or a foundation to send you on to college or, university for whatever the fuck. And they cared about their students and their students' learning as opposed to just passing tests. So they defunded the teachers union and got the older teachers to accept a buyout, and then brought in young teachers who first time, no experience, lessen the resources there. They don't have traumatic care for the traumas that go unresolved with a lot of these students when their classmates are gunned down or, in the streets, and they got to pass by those spots every day, all day. But that's a social issue. Back to the governmental side of things, as they get rid of the Department of Education and all these things that people need, they don't know that they're missing it yet because the cuts are just taking place, and it's going to take a while to filter down to the end user. And so by the time the end user realizes that, hey, this service sucks, it was like, oh yeah, remember a couple months ago when all those layoffs and firings happened? Yeah, welcome to it. All of this could be solved on the financial issue with the social safety nets, the tax system, if as Bernie Sanders would say, the 1%, paid their fair share of the goddamn taxes. You're talking about 30% in America. The tax system is so up and down, and so many loopholes and ways to get around it and not pay it, and it's just all jacked up. And corporations and billionaires, millionaires who have the money pay the least amount in taxes. So now they're trying to get more tax cuts so they can get more money from people who don't have it. And so that's going to be another spark to the outrage. Now, in order for people to vote, you don't want people to vote just because the other party sucks. You want them to vote for something, not against something. So saying that, yes, there are problems with the system, let's fix the system. If somebody was to come out and be like, look, the government needs to do this for all the people living in the country because the government represents the country as a whole. We're not going to all agree on everything, and we can go there. And if somebody's talking the right thing with the right message, people will gravitate to that naturally and vote for them and participate in the system. Because right now, a lot of the apathy comes from the system is like doing the same old thing. It don't work for me. It sucks. That's just them doing that, whatever. And their rights are being taken away without them knowing it. Now, the Greenland thing, the resources. Look at any conquest civilization, role player games, and it's about acquiring the resources. If we don't take Greenland, China's going to take it. And if they don't take it, Russia's going to take it. So it's a battle for the minerals and whatever resources they have and the waterways. So it's a world domination kind of thing on a country level. And now we're going to bring that back to football by with these billionaires trying to acquire more and acquire more at the cost of the little man. We see how negotiations work when President Kevin Warren has now come out with some statements about the Bears and the Arlington Heights situation and the stadium situation. And while it may not have come at the speed that some would like, we see the process going into the latter stages to where now we can start getting down to the nitty motherfucking gritty. And so that's how we're gonna bring that around back to football.
Perfectly done. I did want to
well played, sir.
One thing, man, because Victor Perez, that's the comment of the night so far with ease, and I'm gonna read it. We're talking about apathy here. He says, "Quote: The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is good for good men to do nothing." I'm gonna read that one more time.
The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to remain quiet and do nothing. Sir Edmund Burke.
Or from
apathy is the enemy, but I wanted to say that because I'm very intensely passionate about that particular thing and trying to motivate people who just by just sheer ignorance or just not giving a damn, and all of that ties into apathy, you know what I mean? But more so just not giving a damn and just checking out. It's like this thing is very, you have to participate. You know what I mean? If you want to see the right outcomes, the participation part of it is vital. You know what I mean? If you're not participating, I can get real sideways with this comment, but I'm not. I want to curse people out when I talk to people and they tell me that they start trying to spin conversations. I don't like that. But let me put a bow on that, man, because I'm gonna get carried away with liver lips on the screen, and we want to talk about Arlington.
Let me
talk about Arlington and what I'm starting to get the strong indication that with this new election, Trips, Kez might not know this, he's in Canada, but a new special election just took place, or just local elections around the area, and I think that they need to clear that hurdle in order to get this process moving forward in Arlington. The new mayor was elected, or however, I don't know if it's a new mayor, but that election is over. Now they can proceed with the next 4 years. And I think I heard enough listening to Kevin Warren, listening to George McCaskey. I think this thing is heading definitely towards a deal getting done in Arlington. I think by the time the season starts, there's going to be some shovels in the dirt. That's what I believe.
Man, look at it. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, kids.
I was just going to say that evil will always triumph over good because good is dumb. That's a quote from Spaceballs movie, and I will die by that. All that being said, Kevin Warren, well played, sir. Just like I said to you, Trips. He in his little comments, he said, when I got hired, I walked on my desk my first day, and I saw this paperwork on my desk, and it was about the purchase of the plot of land in Arlington, 300 plus acres of land. There was this paperwork. So, so he saw that paperwork, took a look at the dollars and cents in respect to it, and said, "Oh no, we ain't doing nothing with this." And he sat on his hands for 2 years, shook hands, kissed babies, and got that tax down to a bare minimum of what it was. And now he's going to do the same thing with a brand new guy who just started office. This is beautiful. It couldn't be better for Kevin Warren. He gets to go down to Arlington, shake hands and kiss babies all over again, and lower that tax number even more so they can start to actually put shovels in the ground. And his vision is the way the vision should be. They want to put up full-on communities, hotels. You know what I mean? The whole 9 yards is what they want to do with that 300 acres. And that's what they want. They want to have paradise. Like, that's what it really should be. And I think that's what it's going to wind up being. As much as I, as a for tourist purposes, want to come to downtown Chicago and be about the Bears right there on the lakeside, I'm cool with Paradise in Arlington. Not to mention, it'll put a whole lot of green in the genes of that McCaskey family, and I'm sure that's really the true modus operandi behind all of this. Because if it ain't, we ain't capitalists.
You know, I'm sure that there was mention of the whole property situation during the whole interview process with Kevin Warren, because I know his experience with Minnesota had to play some kind of part in getting that stadium built. And he played the game. He was like, all right, this political scene in Arlington Heights, we're purchasing this. We purchased this land, and now they want to tax us, estimated $9 million a year. Ain't nothing there. It's just empty land. We ain't did shit with it yet. No, we ain't paying that. Oh, Chicago, we can build down there. Look at this concept we threw together. Yeah, like that, don't you, Arlington Heights? And then Arlington Heights was like blank, 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 and they was like, all right, let's make a deal. And then the outgoing mayor before the election was like, well, we said 9 million, but we can really make it 3. Can you do 3? And Kevin Warren is like, gotcha. And now the election happened. I don't know if that guy won or lost. But the process of leverage, being a businessman and being opportunistic came into play, and those wheels are in motion. They may be slow to spin, but they are moving. It's not like well, we don't know what to do now. It's one of those things like, oh yeah, we know what to do and we're gonna do it. We're just gonna do it at our term, at our dollar cost.
Yeah.
And we have projections of what we want to pay in taxes, and they was tripping before, but now
I didn't even know. Just to tell you how disconnected. I'm just gonna tell you, Maniacs, kids and trips migrated down to my place, and they got me down on the ground in the sandbox and threw sand in my eyes and forced me to do this subject. I'm telling you, I'm not doing this willingly. They made me do it. They made me do it.
I certainly didn't.
I didn't want to do it. I hate this conversation. I want the stadium up, and I want to go there.
You want to know? You want to know why I don't hate this conversation, though?
Why?
All right. Here's why. It paints Kevin Warren in a very specific business light. All right? That's the only reason why I actually enjoy this conversation just a little bit. Otherwise, I could give a rat's ass where you know what I mean? I couldn't care where it is.
You think this paints Kevin Warren?
It paints him as a shrewd and intelligent businessman. It does, because he was given a little bit of a raw deal that somebody else negotiated on haste on his way out the door. He looked at the raw deal and went, oh no, we're not paying tens of millions of dollars in tax every year. We haven't even put shovels in the ground yet. Like, we're not doing that. So, you know what I mean? So wait a minute.
Kids, I have no idea who won that election. All I know is it's over.
Well, the election is only slightly important in the Kevin Warren story here. What's really important is that he put the brakes to this machine that was already rolling to Arlington. He put the brakes on it, and everybody's like, wait a minute. Why aren't there shovels in the ground? Why has nothing been done? The answer is because he wasn't about paying that kind of money. He's coming in the building. He's trying to save these people money and make himself look good so he continues to have a job.
Kids, right? I heard the numbers from Trips, 9 million, and I'm just taking him for face value. I heard the number 9 million, then I heard the number 3 million. I have no idea about any of that, man. All I know is they're holding this thing up, and it's definitely a bureaucratic process at this point, trying to finesse the situation into the best terms that they can get.
Business.
Yeah, it's just business, but
you know what I'm saying? That's business.
What's the saying? How does it go? I understand it's a sport, it's a game, but at the end of the day, it's a what? It's a business.
It's business, and this is what I'm saying.
Come down from 9 million to 3 million, just estimated. That's a $6 million savings. That's substantial.
year on year on year, very substantial, right? So, why it's interesting?
If
For
you
all
talking about
intents-
interest rates, man, you know there's going to be a balloon in that at some point. Anyway,
Well, you know what I mean. Like you can't control. You can only control what you can control. And in this situation, the thing that Kevin Warren could control was them shovels. And he said, "Ain't no shovels going to be shoveling until somebody cuts that tax down." Because I'm open to having conversations with whoever. Let's talk about the hospital area. Let's talk about the park area. Let's talk about other cities. Let's just keep talking until these guys realize they're basically losing $9 million in tax.
So let me ask you guys a very specific question. Now, in the conversation that we're having right now, I'm gonna stay right on in the group. Who do you think between Kevin Warren and the McCaskey family is holding this thing up? And the easy answer should be the McCaskey family trying to get that groove down to a certain dollar amount. Or is it Kevin Warren trying to prove that I can get this done for you?
This is all Kevin Warren. This is all Kevin Warren. Because and the reason I'm saying this is because this guy has done this type of thing before. He has an understanding of this level of business. The McCaskeys have no. This is a real estate deal, bro. Like a potentially billion-dollar real estate deal.
Way bigger than a real estate deal.
Why do you say that?
It's a big real estate deal.
Like
it's a huge real estate deal.
It is a multi-billion-dollar real estate deal. Like that's what it is. There are political ramifications. There's lobbyists. There, like everything you can think of is involved in this machination. And the McCaskeys have never done business at this level before. They're a billion-dollar corporation, but that billion-dollar corporation is focused on one thing, and it's the Chicago Bears football team that we know and love.
Kids around here, what you don't know, that every politician has got their hand out.
They should.
Everybody needs to have their palm.
Yeah.
Well,
the cost of doing business. That's what it is. The cronyism, the payoffs, the smoke-filled back alley deals. Hey, I'm gonna hire your cousin. He ain't even got to show up, but he don't get benefits and all that. That's just what it is. But I can see Kevin Warren going in there and be like, hey, I did a little research on this job here, and it looks like I can come in and I could save you $6 million a year off the bat. I ain't even did nothing.
That was job one. He just needed he just needed everybody to recognize that nobody makes money until he says y'all can make some money. None of those contractors, the politicians, nobody makes a dollar until shovels are actually in the ground. So I'm gonna sit back and wait for y'all to make $6 million disappear.
There's always Mr. Birkenstein that had a bagel and shop over there in Arlington Heights that is right there in the groove of what they want to do, whether it be the land for the stadium itself and the facilities that surround it, or the hotels and the business spaces that they want to develop alongside this thing and have this thing. This thing is going to be, it's like a horse and carriage, like a horse and buggy. It's going to bring a whole lot with it. And, it's always those guys that's sitting there and been owner of this property and this land for the last 75, 85 years, who knows how long, that ain't coming up off that land, and you're going to have to take care of his ass. And you don't want to have to do nothing treacherous to him. You just want to make sure he's, whatever you're offering is quantified with what he thinks the land is worth. You know what I mean? So I'm not.
The Arlington Park Racetrack Authority, and whoever owns that, it wasn't like one person, I don't think. But when that business, shuttered, ain't nobody going to race tracks like that no more. That became the monopoly of the area, because that's 380 some acres. That's where the real estate comes in. What are we going to do on that real estate? We're going to build hotels and houses and restaurants and a stadium.
Change.
And we own all of that shit. So all of that money, when people come in and they stay in Beartasia, every dollar that they spend is going right back to the McCaskies. The McCaskies don't have that kind of expertise, that kind of business acumen.
That's what
So
I'm
it's
saying.
like, hey, let's do this dude, get this dude that, ran the Big Ten, in charge of billion-dollar deals, has the experience, has the gravitas, bring him on in here. He came in and was like, all right, George, go ahead and sit your ass down. And then
That's it.
George was like, but the coaching, he was like, nah, I think we have a general manager for that. So go ahead and let the general manage. I'm on president, and you go down and sit your ass down. And
Hey,
George,
Tripp, you know what, man? You know what? I just imagine if the Bears just decided to, pivot and move south, and my land was up for grabs, and they wanted to build where my house stands. Then they said, you know what? I'm on Mr. Nomad. I like what you do with your podcast. You're a great Bears fan, and we're gonna offer you, say, $200,000, something like that. Just random ass number. And I know for a fact that my house ain't worth no damn two. And shout out to Go Blue. There is a fan right there. There is a real fan right there and a real supporter of the Nomad Network. Properly timed, man, because Lord have mercy, these bills sometime over here at the Nomad Network is thick. Thank you so much, Go Blue, man. That was so generous, man. And you're always generous when you come in here, and we appreciate it. And I don't want you to think that any of these dollars that you donate to us goes for naught, man. It goes for the right purposes. Trust me when I tell you. And I'll just say thank you from the bottom of my heart, man. And I say that for all of us over here. Appreciate you so much, man. Listen.
Appreciate it, Blue.
About those deals that have to be made. You're talking about, let's just say they made the pivot. You popped out of screen for a second, kid. I don't know if you heard me.
Yeah.
Let's just say if they came out and offered me a lump sum for my home, and I said to myself, I know damn well my house ain't worth no damn $2,000. I know damn well it ain't worth no $2,000, but I ain't giving you shit. You know what? Because this is my house, and I got there's some history in my home. There's some family here that's been here, that's passed on, and I came and took over this property and made it into what it is. And so for that, I ain't just giving you shit, and you ain't gonna bully me out. There's some guys in Arlington that's feeling that kind of way. That's really, really true and blue Arlington Heights people. That little place is like I don't know what you want to call it, because I never really have been in and around Arlington, but I know of it. You know what I mean? And they got a lot of pride there. And so those people aren't just willingly unassing their properties just to let this dynamic situation develop. They ain't going easy, man. I'm just telling you that now.
Well, we're well beyond where your mindset is right now. You know what I mean? So that 380 plus acres was already owned by the racetrack. So they bought out the racetrack. They own the 380 plus acres of land. It's theirs. So what they do with it now is a question of development. One more time, ain't nobody like that, and that's where the money is. Like, real talk. The money is in the development of land. You can have land, and like, just given the example you were just giving, I'm gonna go to the McCrackens and offer them $600,000 for their house just to get them off the land, because I know when I develop the land and put a freaking apartment building on top of that thing, it's gonna make me millions of dollars. So I'm good to get rid of $600K. Here, take it. Your place is probably worth $20K. Take the 600. I'll make millions with the apartment building. We're good. I'll put a hotel up next to it. I'll make another couple million off the hotel. So it's on the development, right? So the guys who come in and do the construction, the zoning, all that fun jazz. Nobody does nothing until KW says when. Yo, say when. And I have to say that in a specific manner one more time. Say when. Shout out to Val effing Kilmer. Rest in peace, Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Val Kilmer.
Yeah, rest in peace, Val Kilmer. I heard that right before.
You know what I mean? Say when, man. Say when.
You got to understand too, kids. You think Kevin Warren walks around with all this prestige and all this juice He might in other places, but in Chicago, he ain't shit. He's just
cool.
in a hell of a situation that,
that's
he's
cool.
gonna need. He hasn't made enough friends yet. I would just say,
but this is where he's at, right? So this is quite literally why we're still talking about this particular topic today, right? So he's the new guy in Chicago. We don't know nobody. Doesn't carry any stroke other than a little bit of stroke he's bringing in with him from Minnesota, right? Like that, and from again his experiences at the Big Ten. Like that's what he's bringing in. But again, in the Chicago's its own market. Nobody knows Kevin Warren outside of the job title that he's just acquired. He hasn't done anything. Who's Kevin Warren? Well, guess what? Kevin Warren himself recognizes that, because these deals probably would have been in place a little bit earlier if he didn't recognize it. Losing teams don't help the stroke either, right? And this is why I'm talking about Kevin Warren right now, because Kevin Warren had to go to the McCaskies and go, look, we need to fix this part of the business, being the Bears. Bears have to work in order for me to be able to show my face and throw my weight around. We got to get the Bears to work. So we need Matt Eberflus out of here. We need to keep the young man Poles, and we need to support him with the best effing head coach we can find. There he is. Open your purse strings. There he is. His name is Ben. Pay for Ben. Bring Ben to Chicago. And I'm going to get you your stadium in Arlington Heights at pennies on the dollar. Just watch me now. Watch me do. So this is where Kevin Warren's starting to shine, yo. This is why I'm still talking about Kevin Warren right now. Kevin Warren is starting to shine. He's lining the Ducks up. The Ducks are in a row. All he needs to do now is bring them numbers down just a little bit more. Just a little bit more, so we can go back to the McCaskies and go, see what I did for you? The cost of Ben Johnson per year is gone on the real estate deal. The real estate deal paid for Ben Johnson. Now we're going to put shovels in the ground.
Hey, Trips, can you imagine what would have happened had we got some third-rate coach or somebody that we didn't get, not even the first guy, but not even the second guy, but we got some guy that was on the third rung of that conversation, and the Bears fans aren't happy. Not only that, we didn't execute what we should have done in free agency and replenish this offensive line. Let's just say we got third-rate situations all across the board, whether it be coaches, whether it be players in free agency. We got the bottom rung of what was available. Mm-hmm. We're having a different conversation with Kevin Warren right now. The pressure is off of him right now because nobody's thinking about Kevin Warren right now because, just because of that situation. And I would hate to imagine. I would really hate to imagine had that situation transpired any differently. We didn't execute the plan to get those guys in the coaching staff and those guys in free agency and in trades. Dog, Kevin Warren would be under tremendous pressure right now. But
yeah, I mean, if they had decided to hire somebody that came in a press conference and said, "Bear down," we would be in a totally different mind space. Yep. But knowing that Ben Johnson was the top name, hot shit, head coaching prospect. Boom, 15 mil. Come on. You're a Bear now. Welcome in. We're going to hire a staff of first-time coaches, or not first-time, but first-time pro coaches and veteran coaches. We're going to have that mix. We have a cohesive, front office going in, and leadership starts at the top. Because no matter how good of players you bring in free agency and or draft, it ain't gonna mean a damn thing if there's turmoil at the top. And Kevin Warren brings that cohesion and brings that consistency, brings that gravitas, brings that history, brings that resume. That's like, look, y'all, I don't know what the fuck been going on in Chicago and this organization before I got here. But there's a new ninja in charge. And his name
Bro,
is President Kevin Warren.
you're bringing that church too, bro. You know what I mean? He's going to church
Mm-hmm.
with Miss McCaskey, God bless her soul. With George, he's going to church too. He's doing the whole. He's being that conduit in between the football business and the mom and pop shop. You know what I mean? And that's really where he is. And he also is now, you know, his main job is to facilitate this Arlington Heights potential move, this stadium move. And I think he's actually been masterful in his ability to sort of pull all of those things together, and now potentially get you guys the stadium of the future. If they change the city name to Burlington, that'll be the best thing of all time. I think that's what they should do. There should be a petition started. Now that I've made the suggestion, just remember, Ked said it already. Like I came up with, call it Burlington and run with it.
Put it on social media someplace. So
I should.
Hey, don't try to incorporate that shit or try to get a trademark or nothing like that. You're gonna waste money.
I don't want none. I just came up. I just need to be able to say, hey, that was my idea. That's all I need. That's all I want. I want money.
It's all gonna go part of recorded history on the Nomad Network.
Thank you very much. That's all I'm trying to say. Barely.
Because when the Super Bowl is now being considered to be hosted in Chicago or Burlington Heights, because
isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? You just put a BE in front of
it. Why you throwing coal in that shit, man? Let that shit die.
You know what I'm saying? So when the Super Bowl is being hosted out there, and all of those revenue dollars are being spent in the area, and Kevin Warren can light up a stogie and pour a nice sifter of scotch and look back and like, yes, I have once again succeeded.
So listen, man, really quick, man. Shout out to Alan Kennedy, who just busted up in this piece. Shout out Alan. Nick Renberg just busted up in here. Levante, Go Blue with the generous super.
You my boy, Blue. Shout out to Crooked Commish too, man. We'll get something done with your homeboy. We'll get him on here either on Sunday or next Wednesday. We'll figure it out, but we'll get him on.
And it doesn't matter who you send the information. He said he sent it to me, right?
No, he sent it to me for sure. I saw it. I just didn't get the chance to respond because I had some other business to take care of, much like Kevin Warren.
Okay, so here's the thing. This is the last part, my last piece on this. I have visualized Arlington Heights. I visualized.
You mean Burlington Heights?
Burlington Heights. I've visualized it. I've seen the scurrying around the property. I've seen the hotels. I've seen the business. I've seen everything. It's gonna be like a mecca for the area, you know, for people to just. And it ain't gonna be just when the Bears are playing football. It's gonna be all year round, even in the cold. And so I think sometimes big business people tend to be apprehensive about building humongous multiplexes in places that get cold at certain parts of the year. It's like nobody wants. No, if they do this the right way and they operate this in the way that I think they can pull it off, I visualize things that they have created indoor activities like a motherfucker, man. And it's you know, just all kinds of things you can imagine. All you have to do is just not be short of imagination, and you can imagine what Arlington Heights can be. And
if you're gonna partake in any of those activities, don't be short of cash.
No, and yeah, that if you got money and you want to see your money grow, people are gonna migrate to people. No matter what, people say all kind of crazy stuff about just the Chicago area. But you can't stop people from coming here in droves that just want to come here and experience Chicago.
Well, you know? Here's the thing, though, Nomad, that we're not sleeping on. Yes, the team is the Chicago Bears, but with the Beartasia that they're building out there in Burlington Heights, people don't have to come into the city for anything.
It's probably better that way. And like I say, so it's probably better that way. right? Like parking's got to be a nightmare. Just random traffic has to be a nightmare on Bears game or on game day. It's just commonsensically. I know how bad it is in Toronto. I know how bad it gets in my city. The upside for my city is that they move these guys from downtown to the suburbs. And when I'm saying these guys, very specifically the hockey team. Hockey team is now out in the suburbs. You can get out there and in and out relatively fast. But let's be real, even just doing that is a little bit of a chore. Now, if you expand that out 380 plus, 380 plus acres, you just rolled in, you stay at the hotel, you're good to go. You're right next to the stadium. You don't really need public transit, mass transit situation. You probably walk down there, take a quick Uber, have some bicycles, rent some bikes, rent some scooters. These are all money-making ideas just for the area alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can really do some cool stuff and have it just, a stone's throw away from the heart of the city, the heart of Chicago. And then you start to look at, how many food establishments have we talked about over the course of this show and the rest of the shows that we've done here together, the three of us. You start to bring some of those establishments over there that truly represent Chicago, and you just wrap them around this 380 plus acre lot. Now you've got a taste of Portillo's, you got a taste of Italian beef down there. You've got all of these little, just flavors of Chicago sprinkled in that 380 plus acre area. You got a racetrack, you got a casino. The stadium doubles as an actual covered off stadium where you can do shows and stuff. Crazy entertainment atmosphere that they can put together here at Arlington Heights.
And then you have stuff for the local residents, like an exercise trail going around. And in the summertime, you can ride your bike or run or walk or jog. In the wintertime, you can ski. There's Peyton Hill, Walter Sweetness Peyton Hill, where, you can run off all of that Chicago, Chi-town, fat ass and food, run up and down the hill a couple times. And those would be free to bring people to the area. Have a commuter bus or a shuttle bus to the metro station, so if people want to go downtown, hey, go ahead. You leave your car here, no worries. We got you. Shuttle bus, metro station, you're in the city, you come back, shuttle bus back, you're back at, Beardham. So the way they could
serve catfish at the stadium, Minister Charles Cruz is not.
Hey, real quick. Hey, Trips, you know what? Go ahead.
No, I just said money maker.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is the last thing we'll say before we switch subjects. One of the things I'm proud of, and I had to migrate away from here for a while to get this appreciation for the area, man. And until you go to different places, you don't realize what you have until it's gone. And your other places, you just like, I'm wishing I had this. I wish I had that. And you come back home and you finally, one thing I'm very proud of about living in this area is the cultural experience. You know what I mean? Just the different ethnicities everywhere. You know what I mean? You particularly like Polish food. You particularly like Polish culture. Man, jump a couple of miles on the highway, jump off on this ramp, and you'll be right there in the heart and soul of what you're looking for. You like Mexican, 5-6 blocks down east. You know what I mean? It's that simple. Around here, you can find anything you're looking for. Whatever your heart desires is here in abundance. And so when we get done having this conversation about where to put the stadium, whether it be in Chicago, whether it be in Arlington Heights, let me tell you something. This whole area will welcome everybody that comes here with good faith, good heart, and you desire to, it ain't about money as far as I'm concerned. It's about people. I'm a people person. I'm an experiences person. That's what I really thrive on, man. I thrive on, connecting with people and having great experiences with them. And I know of no other place that I've ever seen or been where you can have that experience in abundance like this. It's just different, man. It is just different. I heard somebody say that this place is like a mixture of New York and Philly all combined. I can see that. I can definitely see that. I experienced a little bit of the East Coast. I can see that. So I'm just going to leave that there before we switch subjects. I'm very proud of where I live at, man. And I had to go away from here for a little while to understand that, dude, you live in a place that everybody's welcome. You know what I mean? And money is, if you're a money person, there's money to get out here. You just go get it. You know what I mean? But if you're there for the people and the culture and the variety of it, this is definitely a place for you. You want to set up a business and you want it to thrive in that mindset. This is definitely a place for you. You will overcome in the Chicago area. I guarantee you that. Just be good at what you do. That's any advice for anybody that's thinking about coming here and taking advantage. There's people probably listening right now. Like, you know what? I was thinking about opening up a bear shop. And if they're going to open up this thing in Arlington, get on in the groove and get up there and make your stuff happen, because you're going to make money. Just be somewhere near the vicinity. You'll make money. And so that's encouragement to everybody that's thinking about Chicago or thinking about the Arlington Heights area. But I do have to move subjects because
Arlington
Heights.
Thank you.
Because my guy G, my guy GH had some things to say, man, and he was chilling. I don't know about y'all kids, man. I hear all kinds of different conversations about the McCaskies, and particularly this guy. And not a lot of people like this guy, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why. I think maybe because they don't see him as an astute businessman or whatever it is. But I'm telling you, I genuinely like this guy, and I know for a fact if I ever ran into him or made acquaintances with him, I would immediately be friends with him because he's got a great spirit to him. He knows what he doesn't know, kids. He knows what he doesn't know, and he knows to pass the rock. You know what? Somebody asked him in particular, because they said to him, what do you want in this draft? All that kind of blah, blah, blah. He just like, immediately, he was just like, that's why we hired Ryan. That's what he's going to do. I'll have no say over that. But if you ask me that question and you put some truth serum in me, I like the big guys. And I got strong, evidence that looking at Philadelphia and what happened with them this year, this is how you get it done. You get it right in the trenches. You get dominant in the trenches. And when he said that, I had nothing. I always had respect for George McCaskey, but it just opened me up to a whole lot more. He sees it. I mean, he might not be a football nuanced guy like some of us are, but he sees it the right way for sure. How to go and get it all done, that's, you're gonna have your lumps when it comes to that. But I think he knows exactly where he needs to go
here. Yeah. Look, I don't like, how do I phrase this? Like, so I would love to go to a Bears game and bump into George or be with George in some capacity at a Bears game. I think we'd have an awesome time, to be honest with you. I would definitely keep the guy laughing. I'm sure he would understand where I'm coming from and my sense of humor. I know he loves his team. He loves Chicago. There's things about George that again resonate with me for sure. There are also things about George that completely rub me the wrong way. Now that I've said that, it's truly just rooted in business. I am a businessman. I understand business quite well. And at the end of the day, I'm not sure how great a business mind George McCaskey actually is. And he's in charge of the business side of the Chicago Bears as chairman. That's where my disdain with George McCaskey comes from. It's strictly business. It's not personal. As Levante Rogers said earlier in the chat, it's really not personal at all, or to quote EPMD.
Let me ask you a question.
Yo,
you think you can outperform George McCaskey as a businessman?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
That's some different level. That's some different level shit there, but I'll leave that.
What has George had to do to grow the NFL?
He's
You
had to
know,
make some
I'm going to answer that question, Trip. I know it's really a question for Nomad, but I'm going to answer it. And the actual answer is learning from your mistakes.
But that would
actual answer.
Kids, that would be like you asking me, do I think I can outperform Ryan Poles at his job?
No, that's not. No, it's not.
It would, because I think I got a great eye when it comes to evaluating talent. I think I know how to assemble the right people around me to do business, and it's the same thing, man.
No, it's not. There's so many nuances.
No. It's the same thing. We're
George did not build a business and then buy this team.
Yeah.
You know, George was born into this team.
Yeah.
You know, what successful businesses outside of football has George grown? And other than just hanging on for, dear life and growing with the NFL, and having a franchise that is benefiting from being a franchise of the growing NFL, your business is growing itself. All he has to do is hire the right people. Now, you want to know if he's successful in his business, how many Super Bowls, can you attribute to his hirees or his people that he's brought in to Alice Hall? That's how you should judge him. Who has he hired and how did they perform? And if we see the answer of that, as we see is like, oh, now we went totally outside of the norm and went with somebody with some kind of business acumen in the name of Warren.
Like bingo. And I wasn't even being quite that critical, Trip. I'm just saying, if I could see positive growth and like just what you're saying about your analogy with Ryan Poles, Nomad, I'm now seeing him learn from his mistakes. That's what we're witnessing now, or we just witnessed with this free agency. It was like, oh man, like I screwed up in these areas. Let me go deal with these areas and just throw the bag at them. Make sure that they're fixed. Joe Tooney, come in. Jonah Jackson, come in. We got these areas where we had problems before, and they're now completely fixed because I've learned from my mistakes, and big time it was in those trenches. Let me get greedy, Jared. This guy, though, George, it's taken George, I'm going to say, the better part of 30 years to really learn from his mistakes. And I think there's other things to be said here. One of them is like he got his job and worked with a guy who was a family friend, and he really didn't want to usurp or change that relationship at all. Like there's many other little issues within the his tenure. Ted Phillips as a human being really tightening the reins and owning most of the stuff that George was responsible for was also a major problem. At some point, he probably should have said, look, Ted, you're screwing this all up. You need to go. We need to bring in somebody else. Just can't be you. Maybe we'll move you to a different role. You know what I mean? Be dynamic with it. Make change. Understand when you're repeating mistakes. Recognize when you're repeating the same mistakes and pivot and change and be dynamic. And in that respect, that's where I'm saying, yeah, I think I would be a better chairperson.
I think this, man, and with anybody, and I'm not. Listen, man, that guy. Listen, I listen to this guy, and I'm listening to him. I can kind of tell how he thinks about just listening to him. I'm telling you, man, this dude's a good spirit. This dude's a great spirit. Not only that, that's a side conversation next to where I'm going. His job as the administrator of the Bears functionality is you have to trust. Number one, you have to find people that you have straight up conviction with. And it's not that he has hired bad coaches. I don't think he's hired bad coaches. I think he's hired bad coaches that have made bad decisions. To be honest with you, like we're a couple of wins away from Flus being looking like a goddamn saint right now. If some shit hadn't happened,
what are you talking about?
But wait, I'm just telling you, kids. Like if some shit would have went tip left or tip right, we're talking about a different conversation. Because if things had kept going from the 4-2 start that he had going on, if things hadn't gone left, We're having a different conversation now. But all of that shit, when people get done with their grievances, and wait, when they
I'm gonna wait. I'm trying to my hardest to wait.
Hold on, let me finish.
All
when people get done with their grievances and they get done punching this person or throwing the darts at that person, it always ends up back at George McCaskey about you don't know what you're doing. You fucking up. You don't know how to select. You don't know what you're doing. Sell the team. It ends up there. That's the shit that irritates me because I don't want any of that conversation around here. And it's just people who don't know where to point the blame, and he's an easy target. He's a pincushion.
Well, okay. So he is the target. I'm gonna go back to the Flus comment. Flus was already bottoming out. You know what I mean? He bottomed out 2 seasons in a row already. All he had left was to win out in this past season, and he couldn't pull it off. You know what I mean? Like I can't say if Flus turned it around, like
what if he had pulled it off, kid?
Then the answer to that is then we're stuck.
Get the credit for having made a great hire, or would it be just Flus? He's just a good coach.
No, he would not have been in 2025. He would not get that credit because of the previous 2 shitstorm seasons. It would just even things out,
which has nothing to do with the other.
Which has everything to do with Flus.
It has nothing to do with it. Every season is new, kids.
Yes, but like if you're a coach, you have a record of coaching. Flus came in, shit the bed, and we all stopped and we said, wait a minute, that was a rebuild year. Here's year number 2. He shit the bed again. And we said, okay, well, that was just remnants of the rebuild year. And then he came back and we were all sort of saying, all right, so you retained him. You need to win this season. And he didn't. He had to win. He was at that point.
He literally coached away victories.
Yeah, he coached himself out of wins.
Yes, he did. No
question.
Know what I'm saying? No question about it. All I'm making the argument of had he not had that malfunction and he had made the right decisions,
then he would have just broken even.
We are in a different space, but here we are now talking about George McCaskey and did he make the right moves? Nobody knows for a fact that Ben Johnson is the right move. Nobody knows for a fact that Caleb Williams is the right quarterback. We hope. We hope. And we're giving all our faith to, because we're Bears fans and we're loyal as shit. And we give all our faith to the next decision. And we hope this next decision pays off. And so, it's like, okay, can you go and get Jimmy Johnson out of retirement? I don't know. Can you go get Bill Parcells out of retirement? I don't know. Can you go get proven winners that have won Super Bowls out of retirement? You probably could. I bet there'd be half and half if Bill Belichick was hired as the next head coach, because he's won championships and people were just like, you know what, go and get guys that have proven that they can do it. And, it's a lot of people that think that way. But in this role that he has, I think you have to maintain a fresh and innovative edge in order to get your organization to the next level. I think Bill Parcells would have been a step backwards, personally. And I'm glad he didn't make that choice. And I'm glad that he had the foresight to know that, you know what, we need youth. We need something new. That shit happened already. But there would have been a lot of people clapping like seals for Bill Belichick, and I still don't think that would have been the right move. But it's about decision making, and sometimes you're right, and sometimes you're fucking wrong. Period.
Yes. So I'm not going to sit here and give the chairman of the board credit for hiring the coaches, because that's the GM's job. What I am going to say is, being the charter franchise of the NFL, there's a missed opportunity here that we don't talk about a lot. And that also directly falls on the shoulders of the chairman here, who's above the GM. And that is, because we're the oldest franchise in the NFL, we have a fair amount of history, historical figures, and players. It's always been interesting to me how we try our best not to leverage that history. Mike Ditka is the one guy that we can go back to and go, oh yeah, we leveraged history and it worked. After Ditka, they've done everything they could possibly do to avoid the culture that they build in that they built, the historical players that they have supported. They've done a great job of avoiding them and dodging them. This team should be a football factory, right? Like that's where my mind space is at this point. And like I'm telling you, they refuse to leverage the football minds that have been nurtured in Chicago.
Well, that's
and again, I think that's a decision that falls squarely on George, and I don't understand it.
Well, I understand this because Valkyrie Woman, I haven't seen since pretty much we first hit 1,000 subscribers and was able to monetize what we do over
here. In a minute, yeah, for Valkyrie.
Just help pay the bills. That's all we're trying to do is pay bills over here. And we monetize that after 1,000 subscribers. And I don't know if I've seen Valkyrie Woman since then, but all I know is my eyes and my heart feels good that I see her now. And thank you, Valkyrie Woman, for your generous donation, man, because we need it. And ain't no BS, ifs, ands, or buts about it. We need it. So thank you, Valkyrie Woman, and thank you, Go Blue. Thank you so much for helping us out because it definitely goes to take care of some ends that we need to take care of. We got to meet these deadlines, man, and I appreciate every bit of it. So thank you, Valkyrie Woman. I wish I'd seen you more, but hey, welcome you every time you come back. Thank you so much. But go ahead, kids. I had to cut you off there, man.
No, that's totally appreciated. I'm just saying there's angles that could have been implored over the course of the last few years under George's tenure that he's basically decided not to explore at all. He's done this, he's done that, and none of it has worked. At this point, we're at a level where, as you sort of said, we don't know if Ben Johnson's going to work. We don't know if Caleb Williams is going to work. That's fine. What I can give the entire brass at this present time is that what they put in place is not for lack of trying. They definitely are in full give a fuck mode. They're trying. They opened the purse strings for Ben Johnson. They moved heaven and earth to get Caleb Williams here. And now they're trying to support the kid. And they're doing a great job positioning free agency in a manner that it supports him and the offense without causing detrimental problems to the defense. So, this is not just George I'm talking about. I'm talking the entire organization that he has underneath him. I think Kevin Warren deserves a lot of a huge thumbs up in all of this. I think he, in replacing Ted Phillips, has changed George's idea of how this thing is supposed to be run to some degree. I think George now trusts Kevin Warren. But at the end of the day, not for lack of trying, I think we're in a fantastic position. And if everything works the way it looks like it's going to work, I think 2026 is going to be a very competitive year for the Chicago Bears.
Shout out to White Ghost who just busted up in this piece.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to, let me see, I don't know if I mentioned Marlon Johnson just busted up in this piece. Scrolls just busted up in here.
Yeah, they're giving me some love at Kez the Canuck. I'm just about to send them some love right back. By all means, drop in on my channel. Give me a little bit of love, a little like and subscribe, all y'all out there. Again, that's at Kez the Canuck on YouTube. But stick in the chat right here with the rest of us so that you don't miss anything.
Hey, kids and trips. I think part of me comes out the youth advocate that I started out as, and the mentor, and the all of that part of me comes out when I see people just picking on this guy, man. And it's just, he makes it clear whenever he talks that, I'm not a football nuanced guy. I know I'm not. And I hire people who I believe in, who I trust, and who I have faith in that will come in here and get this thing going in the right direction. I think they've been very close in a couple of times here. with Lovey. They've been close with even fucking Matt. What is his name? I can't even think of his name right now.
Who, Matt Nagy?
Matt Nagy. I mean, it's some shit goes differently. You know, we're having a different conversation. But the bottom line is, in that position, if you're George McCaskey, all you have is your eye for believing in what somebody can bring to the table. That's it. Everything else falls to the wayside. If they succeed, you get all the gratitude in the world, or not. But if they fail, you get all the needles from the pincushion, bro. And he just gets it, and I don't think he deserves it. I just think that guy is doing his best. And I want to say this openly and publicly. I love the fact that he made it clear that there is no plans and there will be no conversation about this team being sold to any goddamn body. And for that, I think I'm more grateful to have him in that position than probably most anybody else in this fan base, because I know as long as he's there, as long as he's at the helm, this team will remain in Chicago. And I think that's the most important thing. I don't want this team in fucking Arkansas. You know what I mean? I don't want it in fucking Boise, fucking Idaho. I don't want it anywhere but in Chicago.
You don't like potatoes?
Talking about selling the team. You understand what's coming with that. Do you understand what's coming with that? The Bears will no longer be the Bears if this team ever leaves this city. Ever.
All right. So I don't think it's going to leave. Okay. So like they may be moving to Arlington Heights. I don't think it's really going to leave the greater Chicago area. And I have to say this out loud, I do expect it to change ownership over the next 15 years maximum. I'm giving them probably five years longer than reality. Once that stadium is built and the surrounding area has been developed and the money starts to mature out of that development, they don't need the Bears anymore. He doesn't need to be he can literally just have his own personal skybox that he owns at the stadium, and he can go to every single game he wants to for the rest of his life. His family can do the same, and they'll have billions of dollars. And he doesn't have to be ridiculed by Bears fans left, right, and center. He'll just be the cool, kooky guy with the glasses and the Bears button up that's at every single game for eternity until he's 100 years old like his mom.
Kids, you have a zero-sum game mindset, when it comes to this, and
what do you mean?
Like, you think of it strictly from
zero-sum game.
You think of it strictly from a business standpoint, and what do I get? And I don't think this guy necessarily thinks that way at all. I think this guy, there's some pride there, the history, the tradition. There's a lot of pride there that I don't know that he's willing. I don't know that he's expressed it quite the way that if it was me, I could express it. But I think there's a lot of pride that comes with this guy. And he's not trying to cash out because I can do that shit and just fucking and go sit with a bag of oranges. And maybe if that was you, that's probably what you would do. But this guy understands the tradition and the history that comes with it. And it's not a zero-sum game with him. It's not. It's about getting a profit, but it's not a zero-sum game.
I'm not looking at anything as any sort of zero-sum anything. It's just like, how old do you think this guy is? He's got to be 70 years old.
Doesn't matter.
Everything matters, especially age, right? Like if you're the guy who, and we just went through this, you're the guy who gets ridiculed when things go sideways with the football operations. You're walking through the stadium and people are cussing you out sometimes. That's silly. He doesn't have to put up with any of that. He can be in a situation which they're about to be in where there's millions of, what's that? I met George McCaskey in 1962 Memphis, Tennessee. He punched me right in my chest. I believe you. You know what I mean? And I bet you somebody was cussing him out, and it might have been Paul Rodriguez. You know what I'm saying? Like Paul Rodriguez might have been cussing him out and probably deserved the punch. But you know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't need that. You know what I'm saying? He can still keep some level of ownership. Doesn't have to sell the entire thing. You can keep a minority stake if he wants to have something in the family, long term. But the reality is all of this is legacy, right? It's really a situation where, George House's grandkids can proliferate, and now Virginia's grandkids can proliferate, and Georgia's grandkids can proliferate, and it's going to continue on and on. That's what Arlington Heights really and truly represents for the McCaskey family. It's billions of dollars. It is, the lack of really having to work like the rest of us do because of this type of investment. Do they need the Chicago Bears to do that? Maybe in a minority stake, but he doesn't have to be the face of it. The McCaskies don't have to be the face of it.
Well, kids, I'm just saying, this could go into a whole bunch of conversation. Trips, if you want a little piece of this before I swerve and bring up this next topic, I'm just glad the guy's there, because I think his mom raised him with a sense, and I'm listening to him with Luke. What is his name? Dave Canales. I'm listening to him. Yeah, I'm listening to him in an interview with him, and I'm watching his reaction as he brings up mom, and he's talking about how his mom teed everything up and set it up and prepared him and put him in place to get this thing to where it needs to go, and trusting him with it. And it's heavy on him, you know what I mean? And he puts on a great face when he's in front of the media. He does that shit once a year to make sure that he's available. But trust and believe me, he doesn't want to be there. He wants to be in the behind the scenes and doing the things that people like him do. But because he's been bestowed with this responsibility, I see a great sense of, I need to maintain this tradition and maintain this family legacy. And if it kills me, I shall do it. That's the sense I get from this guy. And for that, I haven't been gifted something like that. But all I can do is try to transfer what I would be if giving that opportunity. And from what I see, man, and this is just, I'm not trying to cape for George McCaskey. I'm one of those people that can see through a bunch of the noise. And I do appreciate the guy, man. I really do, Trips. If you got anything to say on that before I switch subjects, go right ahead. I do appreciate McCaskey.
No, I mean he's cool. He was just born into the situation, and we're just waiting for him to get it right. He's 70 years old now. It's like, well, maybe now he's learned and he's hiring professionals to be professionals and letting them do their thing. And we just hope it turns out. Or, but here's the thing, but we can't blame him now for trying.
Yeah.
Because he's gone outside of his comfort zone, outside of his box, if you will. And, he didn't hire the consulting firm and hire, one of their homies or part of their network. He went and was like, all right, let me try something different. And you got to give him, some props for that. So, yeah, I'm cool.
Yeah, it could be a lot worse, like Nick Rimber said. You could have the Giants ownership or the Jets ownership. They are a lot worse. No question about it. I do think the Jets are starting to get it right, but that's a whole other conversation. I do appreciate the guy, man. And, man, we'd love to meet him, man, and have some conversation with him about the damn Sox, man, because I want to do something about that. But that's a whole other conversation. We'll get into that later. This is another thing. Listening to Ben Johnson now, kids wanted to play the interview, but I was just like, that might be too much. But what we can talk about, since kids, you watched it, and I'm sure Trips has seen a little bit of it at least, and I definitely watched it make the media rounds. We're going to get into a conversation about what he and Ryan Post thinks together, but in particular, I heard this in particular. They're looking for depth. One of the people that came into the comment section and had a comment for, I don't know if it was me, had to be me, because I mentioned that, at this point, I think we are drafting for depth. I don't know that we're drafting for a need player, right? I mean, we could think about it as, okay, we're drafting a starting. There's a need for a lot of people in a lot of people's mind that we need a left tackle. There's a need in a lot of people's mind that they feel like we need another safety. there's a need in a lot of people's mind that thinks we need a pass rusher specific football player. So those three positions, those three roles, there's people out here that will make the argument with you that we need to get those spots. But what I heard from Ben Johnson that's really, really stuck out is that we're looking for depth. That was a quote. We're looking for depth. And Triple R, since Kids is off screen right now, you want to start with that comment, and what did you think about that, if you think anything?
Yeah, I mean, depth is something that we need. And looking at the roster the way it's constructed right now, the majority of the starting positions are locked up, other than, let's say, maybe tight end 2 or 3, maybe left tackle. Is it going to be Braxton Jones? Is it going to be Amagaji? Is it going to be to be determined? And another edge, and a safety. So the way that the roster is set up, we can go for depth. And if you look at the way the offensive line of, let's say, the Eagles, they had their veteran starters, and then if any of those guys went down or retired or got traded or released or what have you, they had another guy that can come up and start. So any offensive lineman that we look at drafting this year, other than left tackle, could possibly be, just forget about him for a season or two until, Tooney or Jackson's contracts are up. And then it's like, oh, yeah, I forget we drafted that guy in, 2025, and now he's a starter. So the depth will work that way in all the positions, considering the veterans and the starters that we got now. So, yeah, it's not like, we need a quarterback, because we don't need any position so bad that we would have to reach, jump, or not be able to trade back. So it's a good position to be in.
Well, I think some of our friends in the chat nailed it, very specifically our guy Nick Rembert. I think there's a need for day one playmakers. I think that's what they want. The line of questioning that they received was around depth, and Ben John, I really appreciate the way that he answers questions. He answers them very succinct and directly, and you can see him looking in the eyes of the reporter when they ask these questions and responding to them. Again, very direct. So he's being quite literal with that depth answer because they're asking him about that. And then he pivots to start to talk about other players and starters, guys who can make an immediate impact. So he went down the road to talk about Quran and actually that was Ryan. Ryan got deeper into the Quran conversation, but he got, Ben sort of started to talk about Braxton Jones and the injury and things along those lines and what they could do in that position. Then started to talk about the second round and how deep this second round is with talent. Got into a little bit of a conversation about Tyler.
Pause for a second, kids.
Yeah.
How many times have you heard that over here on this network? How many times have we said that, that first round of the draft where everybody's all excited is just one particular place? The sweet and the meat part of the draft is after that first round, right where the Bears are particularly positioned. How many times have we said that?
I don't have any kind of number to share with you here because I personally have said it at least 8 billion times, and I'm pretty sure you said it about the same amount of time, right? So, and Triple R for sure said it a bunch of times. It's been kind of beaten to death here this offseason because it's the God honest truth. Those top 75, and I push it up to 150 to be honest with you, but the top 75 players are a real sweet spot in this draft, whether you're drafting at position 10 or position 72, which the Bears are drafting at both, right? Then you add in 39 and 41, and you can really do some damage here. So what do? Do you go for depth with that 10th pick? Or do you go for a game-changing player like potentially maybe a Tyler Warren, who Dennis Allen is pounding the table for? Or do you go for an Ashton Genty, who I don't know if anybody's pounding the table for him at Hallis Hall, but I have a strange feeling somebody is.
Well, just to make a point to what you're making, we're going to have a conversation a little bit later after this conversation about the depth, and I'm going to give credence to that depth conversation. But the conversation about whether or not we should just draft an impact player or the best player available, it could be a little difference in that philosophy. Listen to Ben Johnson talking and listen to Ryan Poles talk. You know, Ryan Poles has been in the building. He knows the players. He knows exactly what we need. And, you know, Ben Johnson is coming into the team with the mindset after looking at the film. Now, understand this. He's coming into the situation having been an outsider and looking at the situation and the film and saying, you know what, if we don't get depth in these trenches, I'm talking about from you got to start in 5 guys, but we need damn near 5 more guys that can start. And so I think he's listening to him talk. I think he's looking at the roster in that way. There's a guy in particular that comes to my mind when I hear Ben Johnson talk like this. He's talking about depth, and he's talking about depth on the offensive line. That's really literally what he's referring to. And the guy that really keeps coming up in my mind, for whatever reason, it is Jonah Savanea. And he knows that they have some pretty good situational versatility along the offensive line at guard. But they know that Joe Thuney is only going to be there for a certain amount of time. I think they see this drive as a particular moment to thicken up the trenches. I've been saying that for the last 2 weeks. I think that's what Ben Johnson is thinking. Pohl sees this thing in a different kind of way, but let's focus on where you think they can thicken up the depth. And you know, when I say depth, he's thinking about the offensive line. What do you think they can do better, Kez or Trips?
Trips?
Depth-wise, let's look at where we obviously don't have depth. Offensive line, more so than defensive line. Tight end, safety. You know, what are we doing at linebacker? You know, what's going on in that position, in that room? We're looking at a couple running backs. What are we going to do in that room? So those are your main position groups. So it's just how are they setting up their board?
All right. So this is a 5-win football team. I'm just going to put that out there again.
That did not re-sign Matt Pryor, who was probably the best offensive lineman on the team. And that's depth for you if you need depth.
I agree with that, but they, you know.
Listen to White Ghost. We only have one right tackle right now.
Yeah. So the question is, like, where are you getting your depth? Like, where in the draft, as in, like, when? I don't think you're selecting a depth piece at number 10, number 39 either. You may select at 41, 72, 148, 230, 233, or 240. Those make sense as depth piece selections to me. This team needs 2 impact players, whether it's on defense or offense. They need 2 more blue chip players that will start. Period. If we're talking about depth, you take a look at the trenches, and we have to question what's sort of left over. White Ghost is saying we only have 1 right tackle right now. That's a good point. We could get a second one. I don't know if that's the move, just considering that the worry is with Braxton's health. We don't know what's up with Karan. Judging him on the few snaps he had last season is probably a little bit short-sighted, but we still might want to have it might be better to shore up the left tackle position and then utilize Karan as that depth, right? So if we're talking offensive line, if they're getting a depth piece at 41, I can dig it. I still think they need to look at left tackle. Just, that guy might well become depth in 2 weeks when Braxton is fully healthy and ready to go. But I think that's where you start.
You know what, kids? I can tell by the way they've aligned their 30 visits, and this might be a hot take and might be kind of breaking news, but the way they've designed the 30 visits, if you look at the timing in which they've released, the news of their 30 visits, the first guy up was Will Campbell. Of course, they would like if he drops to 10 somehow. Trust me and believe me, there's going to be no conversation in that room. They're going to run and go make that pick. And he's going to do left tackle. All the arm length conversation, all that shit be damn. But they know that literally, kids, they know that literally he's probably not going to be there. So what is your plan B? And that is Josh Connerly. Remember? He was set up for the next 30 visit, remember?
Yeah.
So they have a plan to get. They're gonna draft a left tackle high. I don't know that it's gonna happen with the first pick. In fact, I doubt it unless Will Campbell drops to 10. I think they'll wait in the second round to get that left tackle. I think if all else fails and they end up keeping that 10th pick and Will Campbell's not there, they're gonna get an impact player, whoever they think that impact player is at 10. But if that's not available, and they think better of it, they'll trade that pick back. And we had conversation about that. We heard conversation about that too. We'll get to that next. Mm-hmm. But talking about depth, they're definitely going to, if the players that they want isn't at 10 and they think highly of the guys in the second round, they will try to move heaven and earth to move that pick back. I believe that. But their intention is to gather picks, because they gave up some capital, is to gather picks and come away with this thing with enough to really get that depth that Ben Johnson is looking for. That's the aim. You got to satisfy your head coach. He says that we need depth, and he's talking about the offensive line. Believe him. Give it to him. That's what I think is going on inside that building.
Wish I could argue with any of that, because that's exactly how I see it. I do think Will Campbell is in play, and it has a lot more to do with the fact that he's actually position versatile, and a lot less to do with the length of his arms. And I think folks should sort of look at it that way. Yeah, Will Campbell could probably play left tackle in the NFL for a couple of weeks in absence of a ailing Braxton Jones. I don't see that being a problem. Hell, he may even thrive there. Who knows? But I can also tell you that he'll have no problems playing left guard. You know what I'm saying? They just slide him right over. And there's your depth there in spades with one selection. Unfortunately, the odds of him falling past the Patriots are pretty slim. Let's be honest about that too. He's probably going to wind up over there. They need to protect their quarterback. If he doesn't wind up again at the 10 position, what do the Bears do? The Bears then look at an impact player, aka Genty Warren. If for one reason or the next there's a lucrative trade available to them, they may just take that trade back, secure the additional capital, and start drafting from there, given whatever the requirements they feel are important are, utilizing their big board. But when we're speaking of depth here, I don't think, just me, I don't think they're going to. I think the number 10 pick is either trade bait, Will Campbell, or very specifically an impact player.
All right. And
the thing that we have to prepare for is trading back at 10 means leaving whatever players that you're trading back that are on the board that you ain't getting.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be comfortable with knowing that, all right, for example, Genty's on the board at 10, and it's like, do we take Genty or do we trade back and get the capital? Because remember, whoever's trading up is wanting somebody there, so we could take that guy and say, well, we got that guy, we're good. Or we found comparable guys later on in the draft, we're able to get more of them. And we've seen Ryan Poles' demeanor, his MO, how he gets down. We know his steez. He's going to be moving around in the draft. That's what he does. So it would make more sense to build a team to go down a little bit, not to bargain basement or like the fifth, sixth, seventh round guys, talent wise. But we just don't have the flexibility of a roster to, I don't believe, have the assets to trade up.
Yeah, that's a whole that's a whole other conversation. But here's my last thoughts on them looking for depth. I'm like George McCaskey. I'm like Ben Johnson, and I'm of the mindset that here's why I think we've gotten it wrong for me, especially last season, is making the sexy picks, and the sexy picks was getting Romo Dunze, who I really think highly of. That was a sexy pick. It wasn't necessary really at that given time. It wasn't necessary. You could have really gotten yourself together in the trenches. Hold on for a second, kid, before you put that up.
Well, you speaking of what you're speaking to. That's the whole reason why I put it up there.
Okay, but hold on for a second.
Yeah,
that shouldn't be the case. I think Ben Johnson knows that. I think he knows that in order to be a dominant team, understand what I'm saying. Dominant. Circle the dominant. In order to be a dominant team, you got to get dominant on both sides of the ball in the trenches. And as sexy as Genty is, and as sexy as Tyler Warren is that the best thing to do right there, given that opportunity? Of course, people think that Genty is the best football player in the draft. Of course, people think he's the best running back in the draft. I'm not here to argue with that. But is it the best thing for the Chicago Bears right now? I don't know if that's the case. It just behooves me to think that you shouldn't be really beefing up with the bigs and making sure that you're dominant on both sides of the ball when you have an opportunity to do it. There's not a running back in this draft that's going to come in here and turn around and change your fortunes in a day. As much as I love Damian Martinez, it's not a tight end nor a running back. You have to get better with your second wave of guys because guys are going to get hurt. And you got to get a qualified guy to replace the next guy. The guy in front of you. And so I think what Ben Johnson is thinking, listen to him talk, that you need to thicken up in the trenches. And I don't think these first couple of picks should be very sexy. They should be in the trenches, in my opinion. I don't think they did enough yet.
Well, like I'm saying, I think that there's trench depth clean up until at the very least pick 63. I think you can get deep in the trenches with picks 39 and 41. So it's not to me, and this is where I think this is where they position themselves, and that's how beneficial this offseason has been for them, free agency specifically. It's positioned them in a manner where they don't need to be beholden to a specific position. So if you don't need to draft, 2 years ago, he desperately needed a tackle and he sourced Darnell Wright. He decided that was his guy and he needed to draft that position. He doesn't have to do that this time around. He does require some level of support at on the defensive side of the ball in the trenches, as well as on the offensive side of the ball, again, in the trenches. And I think he can accomplish both of that with picks 39 and 41. The problem is, if you neglect an impact player at the 10 position or, in the first round, who's to say that they're going to be around later in the draft? Other teams also require impact players too.
That's the thing, kids. It's the guys that you think they're in that first 32 bucket that you think are going to be day one. You put him on the team because we got him in the first round. He's going to come in here and light the daylights out of this shit. And the truth is, most of the time, a lot of these first round picks end up to be shit. There's a bucket full of them that end up being decent or good. But a lot of times, people are projecting them and putting all this energy and effort behind boosting them up because I did the film work on him and I know he's going to be good. And teams end up doing that and drafting these guys But I am telling you, after this first rung of players, whether it be Travis Hunter, Will Campbell, the Ashton Genties of the world, the Tyler Warren, there's a whole second and third wave of these football players that are going to be bad as shit. And I can guarantee you that. But they're not getting the publicity. And so some people tend to think that if you don't get the impact guy you're looking for right away, there's no chance in hell you're going to get him later on. That's just not true. You just got to know what you're looking at.
You might not, though, because again, there's 32 teams here, and they're all hungry for similar things, right? So expecting that even in a deep draft, certain things are going to be available to you by way of impact players becomes a questionable thing, right? Like if we're talking about a top.
All right, first of all, just identify as an edge. Just start there. Who do you see as an impact edge right now? Off the top of your head, give me three.
Three? Obviously, I'm starting with Abdul Carter. Secondarily, I would say Pierce. Third to me would be Landon Jackson. I think all three of those guys are impact players at the edge.
Okay, Abdul Carter, Pierce, and Landon Jackson. Okay. That's a good little let's narrow it down to who you think would be impact players for us now, because I don't think Pierce is a player that I'm not going to say that we wouldn't covet, but I don't see him as a fit as a 3-down defensive lineman here. He's more of a 3-4 edge to me. But what do you think of him?
Sorry, say again. What's the question?
Okay, so you think those three guys are impact players?
Yep.
Which one of those guys do you think are better fits here?
Personally, I think I'll answer the question like this. I don't see us having any shot at Abdul Carter. Fair. I see us having a shot at James Pierce. Is he in a similar mode of Abdul Carter? Yes, in my mind, I think he is. And I think that Abdul Carter is also a 3-4 edge, right? Like that's me saying that. Mind you, we've got a pretty decent rotation, especially with Dio on that other side, as well as Booker. I just say if you're rotating these guys, it might be a really interesting thing. So I'm a little bit less fussed with the fact that those two guys are more 3-4 than they are 4-3. Landon Jackson is a prototypical 4-3 edge rusher. That being said, he's likely going to be available to you with pick 41 or 39.
Exactly.
So do we need to do it at 10? No, we still get that depth on the edge.
So there's guys like Nick Scorton, the guys like him that I really think highly of.
I think Nick Scorton's great. I think Shamar Stewart looks great. There's just no proof. So I'm not going to, I can't put him on my list of guys that I would be looking at because, again, he looks great. There's just no pudding there.
So I think – so let me just get to the next conversation because I think the conversation has led us here.
Yeah.
And I think right about now – this conversation that we're having, kids, it ain't about agreeing or disagreeing. It's about what do we think these guys are, kind of bringing together inside that building. And when it comes down to it, I think right now, while everything is wide ass open and they got players floating around everywhere, from Ryan Poles to Ben Johnson to Dennis Allen to now they'll bring in the position coaches, and they'll really have some deep ass conversation. And so where somebody might be strong on Ashton Denty, somebody might be really strong on Tyler Warren, there might be several guys that come in there and be strong on both of those guys. And then comes the defensive coordinator, and then comes his staff that comes in there and says, you know what? These are the guys that I think will come in here. And it's gonna get crazy. Well, right now they can rightfully say that we're in alignment. But I know for a fact that when it comes down to actually drafting those football players, there's going to be some difference in there. And if it's not difference in there, you got a bunch of yes fucking there. You need to have somebody standing up on the table for these position players. And I'm hearing alignment, but I don't know if there's going to be alignment when it comes down to it, because I think Ben Johnson, listening to him talk, and I just had the graphic up, he's thinking depth. He's thinking depth for sure, and I think he's thinking offensive line. But I think Ryan Poles is thinking more impact player. And if you listen to both of them have conversation and both of their, press, rounds, I don't know that you came away with the same thing, Keds and Trips, but I came away with a guy looking for depth, and it's probably on the offensive line, and a guy thinking, I want an impact. We need an impact player, and that's probably an edge rusher, or we need to move back. That's what I think. That's what I think is going on. I don't know that there's alignment, because I heard two different conversations.
I think they're in lockstep. One of the questions was it was a good question asked, but I know like Ryan Poles sort of did the wax on, wax off, and kind of dodged it with his response, and it was like, so who wins the argument if you and Ben Johnson don't see eye to eye with a specific player. And he did his best not to answer this question. Like, he answered around it. But whoever asked that question, Shadows, I think it was Dave Canales, actually, or sorry, Luke Canales, actually. Good line of questioning for Ryan Poles. At the end of the day, though, I think they're in lockstep. From what Ben Johnson was saying about the process, Ryan is really including the staff in the scouting process. So that much is also for sure. So that Dennis Allen comment was from a very short situation where they sort of sat down and specifically talked about Tyler, and he gave him some extra love. But they're supposed to come together as a staff, having done evaluations, and really start to drill down on who they believe is the right selections at each position. So I think it's going to be much more of a team effort in that respect. I feel like they're very much aligned. I also feel like there's a fair amount of subterfuge, right? A fair amount of espionage, and I don't believe that anything that was said today really revealed their hand.
I know where you're going, Kids. I'm gonna get there. I know exactly where you're going, and I appreciate it.
With what I heard was needing depth. You don't take a selection at 10 for depth. You're looking at that to be a day one starter. Ryan Poles, threw the chum out there. It's like, trade back, I'll let your boy.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems to be, they're saying the same thing. Whether the blue chippers are on Ryan Poles' board or available, he said that there were like 3 to 5 blue chippers. And so picking at 10, if one of your blue chippers falls, does Ryan Poles be like, yo, this is the guy we got to have? I don't think Ben Johnson would be mad if, Ryan Poles is forcing a blue chipper on him, but knowing how Poles gets down, hearing what Coach Johnson said, hearing what Poles said, just prepare for that trade back at 10 to the media part of the draft to add depth of which the coach wants.
So Trips, I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think there's a player, if they're stuck to make the pick at 10. They have to make the pick 10. It won't be the worst thing in the world. In fact, it's a good thing. And I almost think you can't go wrong there. There's so many good players there in that area. So many good players. It's not like you're going to make the wrong pick. I think it's just going to be a difference of whether you think, this is the right pick right now, or do you have faith in, because Ben Johnson, believe it or not, is not looking at the entire draft like these scouts are, and like Ryan Poles and his staff are doing. They've been knee deep in this shit. Ben Johnson is busy, working on trying to set up the operations of mini camp and veteran mini camp and the whole training camp. He's got to set up the operation of that and get all that shit in order. Get the goddamn playbook in order, because we're gonna get into that here in a second. But there's a lot of things that Ben Johnson has to do, and he can't rightfully spend a whole bunch of time sitting around looking at, the prospects in the draft. He's got to get the operational shit up and running so that they can function. This is the difference between him being an offensive coordinator and being the head coach of a team. He's got to make sure operationally they are A1 and running and being smooth about it, or he's going to get laughed at if they are not. He's got to get that shit right. And so right about now, I think Ben Johnson, I'm not saying that Ben Johnson should come in there and just give complete deference to Ryan Poles and his staff. I'm saying that, you're concentrating on something right now that you should be concentrating on. You signed up here to put your trust in the people that you signed up to work with. Right about now, I think he should probably lean into wherever Ryan Poles wants to go, wherever the defensive coordinator, who has way more time than him, would want to go with this draft. I think that's the best thing to do, even though I would love to see them get the first couple of picks in the trenches. I really would. But if they don't do it, I would understand why not.
Well, a couple things to say. So first thing is, Ben very specifically said that they are coming together as a staff to discuss the draft. He specifically said, he was like, we did some similar things in Detroit. He's like, I'm glad that we're going to do a similar thing here in Chicago, and all of my staff will get together, we'll come together, we'll assess along with Ryan's staff and come to some agreements. This way there was the alignment that you're questioning right now. So he said that's going to happen. I can only expect it to happen. Hopefully that doesn't take away from, his training camp stuff, in that respect as well. He said he also hasn't prepared his training camp speech for when the players get there. He'll do it by way of procrastination, because the best things come out of procrastination, which is something that I fully believe in, and I'm probably super wrong. But shout out to you, Ben Johnson. At least we think along the same path. I'm under the impression that his impression will definitely be felt in this draft. I think it's important that his impression is felt, much more so than it, this is his ass on the line, much more so than Dennis Allen or anybody else, except for maybe Ryan Poles, right? Because it's also his ass. I think he needs to have his impression felt and make it felt in this draft.
I think he got Trips, when you say that he got pretty much what he came here to get done. I need to get my trenches right up front for me to get my offense up and running and to be operationally correct and get this quarterback in the space that I need him to get into. I need to get the interior of this offensive line, which I see as a weakness on this offense. Obviously, it was true, and he did that. He gave him that. Now, there's as a
question.
Go ahead.
Do you not feel that everything that you just said could also, and maybe even more so, be applied to Ryan Poles?
Say that one more time.
I will. Ryan Poles drafted Caleb Williams. He left him out. He hung him out to dry last season with the offensive line that he put in front of him. Isn't it even more on Ryan Poles' plate to make sure that that's fixed than it is on Ben Johnson's plate coming in?
Well, I would assume, as we watched the games last season and how they cut to those shots of Ryan Poles sitting up there on his iPad, looking all pissed off, typing in notes that he saw. That's like, interior offensive line. We need to protect our asset, our number one quarterback pick asset. So let me get on that. His history with Tooney, I think, helped, whether it be with the organizational aspect of it or just knowing him as a player. I don't think Ben Johnson came in saying, hey, we need to get Tooney from Kansas City. I think that was more of a Ryan Poles was like, hey, we need a good-ass offensive lineman, and we can get him. I could see Johnson be like, "Hey, Jackson, I'm familiar with him. I like his game. I would like him on the team." And Poles is like, "All right, cool." And then Dahlman, I'm sure Ryan Poles had the blessing of his head coach before he went out and got the top center in the draft. So there is some coordination going on, and we're watching Ryan Poles learn on the job as well. So he's saying, "All right, I made these mistakes, or these players didn't pan out as planned. Let me fix those while enhancing other positions." So I think they're, really in lockstep, because Poles isn't that kind of guy. It's like, "Hey, these are the guys I'm drafting. You figure out how to make them work." Go on. He doesn't operate like that.
I don't think he does.
You know what? You know what, gentlemen? We've been podcasters strong for a couple of years now. And, I think there's a certain thing that we all can agree upon that we've seen as football fans, not just Bears fans, but as football fans, that we've seen be tried and tested and proven year in, year out, that if you don't get your trenches right, if you don't get it right up front on either side of the ball, there is tradition that speaks to the fact that you are fucked in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead.
No, I'm waiting for you to finish. I'm with you, bro.
I'm finished now. I said enough.
Okay. No, it that goes without saying. And my simple point was just that, common sense. Ben Johnson sits down and he watches Bears film over the last 2 years. He can see the glaring issues in those trenches. He can see that. But if Ryan Poles don't see it, it's a major problem, right? So Ryan Poles, I think, was truly the impetus of what happened in this free agency. He needed to rectify the Nate Davis situation. He needed to rectify the Tevin Jenkins situation. Those two issues there at the guard position needed to be elevated. Guess what? So did that center role. And he did all three of those things, and I believe he did it with consultation from Ben Johnson. Hey, this guy would be great. I worked with him. Oh, snap, you're getting Joe Tooney? I'm with it. Let's go get the center now. You know what I mean? Like, that's my thoughts there. But I don't think that, me saying that they got the trenches dealt with on that side, because they also did some work on the other side, absolves Ben from, from the 10th, from pick number 10. He's not, I don't think he washes his hands of this deal because those two trench positions are fixed. I think this pick here, this number 10 pick, it's going to be significant as to who this coach really is and what he wants to do with this Bears team. And I think what he wants to do is run the ball down your MFing throat.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Kez. And I'm about to tee you up real quick one more time, because you were definitely head in there. I had to T-bone you and stop you. I had to stop you, man.
I was done right there too, but you keep going.
We had to get the cops involved, but this is definitely where you were going. You were going down this road. I know it. I know you. And okay, I'm just gonna shut up and let you tee off here. And do you think my graphics here kind of make sense to you, or do you think something different?
No, this is there's really three players to me that the Bears, four, including a guy that they're just never going to get access to. There's four players they should be looking at. And this, in my opinion, this is the four. All right? Will Campbell, they might be able to get him, probably going to be gone. Abdul Carter, probably have no shot of getting him.
So
Ashton Genty.
You don't think the Tyler Warren, he was laying it on thick there? You don't think that was legit? Do you think that was legit, or do you think he's Chief Powwow here?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think let me just answer the word legit. I think straight legit was everything that he said about Dennis Allen sort of sticking up and speaking up for Tyler Warren and how he'd be a mismatch to defend. I think that's as truthful as all get out. 1,000,000,000% truthful. Notice he didn't say I said it. I was saying Tyler Warren would be a mismatch.
Uh-huh.
I thought Tyler Warren would be right. So
Notice that.
that's
You
my
see,
thoughts on the thing.
your man over there said that. It wasn't me. You know what I'm saying? Your
Yeah,
man.
the other guy said it. He said it. He's important now. He's my DC. He said it'd be this kid would be a problem for him.
All right, so let me give you the proper question so you can give the proper pass the rock to when you pass it the trip. Smoke signal. Do you think it's a smoke signal, or do you think it's legit that he was landing on thick and he's green and he didn't realize what he was doing in the moment?
No, I think it's not. I don't think this one is a black and white answer, right? I think it's wax on. It's espionage. That's what I think.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a very measured, intelligent fella. He's not going to slip up like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? You know what, Trips? I see when I watch Ben Johnson in the presser and doing these little these little press briefings. I see a guy that can't wait to get the fuck out of there, and he's just like,
really.
And I think sometimes he says something in reaction to the people that are putting. He's surrounded by people. When he said that shit, he's surrounded. He's just. I can look at this guy and tell like I can't wait to get the fuck out of here. I just want to get this over with. I'm telling you, man. I see some scaredy cat when it comes to the pressers. I'm not saying he'll be a bad coach or nothing like that, but he's not comfortable there yet. I can tell you that.
Oh, you're kidding me. No, I think you misread that a billion. I think you really misread that because I'm just going to examples, right? So Flus, I don't think there was a single presser ever that he did not exhibit fight or flight. Like I need to get the F out of here. Flus for sure. This guy's looking you dead in your face, receiving your question, processing it, and responding to it. Like he's a very specific guy in that regard. And the way that he does that makes me feel that he's not only super comfortable in this environment, but he's able to manipulate the environment.
Hold on, but Trips, what did you see? I see a little bit of scaredy cat there. He's trying to get the fuck up out of there.
Well, no, he should have been. I've never gotten that vibe from him that he was uncomfortable in front of the cameras. But all of them, players, coaches, general managers, president, as soon as it's like last question, thank you, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
There is no hanging out, milling around at the microphone. It's like, look, we got shit to do. We had to stop, answer these dumbass questions. All right, I'm out. Coach Johnson he doesn't give me that vibe as somebody who's uncomfortable, who is intimidated by a camera or by a question. He's very thought out and well spoken. He processes his thoughts well and tells you why and how he came to those conclusions. And so just that nature of who he is, he's going to lay out the analytics of it, emotions aside, and being afraid or shook or not wanting to be in front of the camera is an emotion. And once he gets going with his thesis on the question, he's just a guy talking and answering the question, trying to share his thought process behind it. Whatever his expertise is on the question. So being asked about, Tyler Warren is like, oh yeah, Coach Allen said he'd be a monster to defend. Next question. What the fuck you want from me? You know what I mean?
Hey Trips, you know what, man? I ain't scared to get it wrong. And you know what? I might be misreading this thing, but maybe because I had to become I had to learn how to read people in the professions that I went after, and sometimes you can overdo some shit. Like you can like when we're talking about let's say for instance Will Campbell talking about his arms. I just refuse to become that character and just overdo the film and just be too fucking technically fucking critical. Now, when it comes to this conversation with Ben Johnson, I know for a fact that this is all new to him. There's a little bit of uncomfortability. Now I know that he is going up there and speaking his mind, and he's 100% confident. Like, who said that? Like Nas said, he's 100% confident. I do sense that. But I do sense a little bit of like, hey, you know what? I want to be doing other things right now. I want to get this over with. And sometimes you can, being new to the job, you can overtalk, can't you? You can say something that you probably didn't. You probably in hindsight be like, oh fuck, I wish I hadn't said that like that. You know what I mean? That is real.
Well, I mean, he said something. Coach Johnson was like, there was a question about who was gonna I'm paraphrasing here, but what coaches were gonna be in Caleb's ear on game day on the headphones, and Johnson used the phrase. He didn't say pecking order. He said what the fuck phrase did he use? The hierarchy, the feeding. Was it the hierarchy?
I think it was hierarchy.
But he used a phrase that was kind of just not out of place, but it was just different. You know what I mean? It conveyed the meaning, but people saw that as him saying something that I don't think he was saying. So, we're in those dog days. We're going to read everything into everything. And now let me throw a curveball at you. Because I was listening to, Greg Gabriel and Podfather over there. And something about because Billings contemplating retirement.
No.
Whoa. I got to take this down. Hold on, man. Hold the fuck up, dude. What you talking about, bro?
Well,
part of one of the conversation I plan on having later is about his defensive front, and it doesn't really feature a big guy. But what are we talking about, Trish? What are you talking about?
Well, we know Billings was coming off of that. Was it the pec surgery, season-ending injury?
Yeah.
He's 31 years old or so. And so I don't know if it's an issue with the rehab going slower than he would like, but was it AC, his cousin, his literal Billings, his actual cousin, that they were saying that he might be, kicking around the thoughts of, hanging him up. And I was
should they really have said that?
Well, I mean, I don't know if they should have said that, but he did. So,
Ryan,
what do you mean should they have said?
I'm gonna call Ryan as soon as the show is over.
Yeah, right. And as soon as he said that, it was like, oh, well, draft wise, that makes if what's his name, Grant from Michigan is there at 10. It's like, if Dollar Bill is not going to be here, now that's a different look at 10 for that D tackle position.
Oh shit, dog! You just fucked me up now, because
that's why I said curveball.
I wasn't ready for that one, man, dog. Straight up, like real talk. Like you just laid some heavy shit on the chat right now. I don't know if y'all listening to him, but good Lord, we talking about Andrew Billings retiring? Are you
contemplating retirement?
I'm contemplating my ass if that even is a conversation that Ryan brought up. I'm gonna have to get Ryan on here to get some clarity now, because I ain't trying to hear that right now. To be honest with you, I love me some Andrew Billings, but if
and from what I'm hearing, everybody's saying about Grant is a blue chipper defensive tackle, and so if he's there at 10. And you're looking at possible retirement from, one of your defensive tackles, that makes it, a harder decision. Trade back.
We have to park that one, because I'm definitely getting ready to get at Ryan now, and so maybe he'll come on here and clarify what he said. I'm definitely finna holler at him now, and hopefully, no maniacs look forward to that conversation. Because I'm definitely going.
So
script on Ryan, like, hey man, come holler at me, man. Tell
Who
me, say it ain't so, cuz that's all I'm gonna be asking.
Who said it though? Was it Greg and Aldo?
Yeah, it was it was Greg and Aldo talking on their show. Barroom Network, you know, check them out, show them some support.
I watched it this week. I must have missed that part.
There's the other barroom show network that Ryan's on, you know, with the other fellas, C-Dub and everybody on that show.
Tailgate, right?
Yeah, tailgate show. And so I guess the conversation happened there, and then Aldo brought it back up on their program as what Ryan had mentioned, that the possibility of, you know, Big Bill contemplating retirement. Did he say it? I don't know, but Aldo said he said it, so that's good enough for me. Now, I don't think Ryan's going to put words in his cousin's mouth, you know, literal family. If the actual thought is true, and if he is contemplating, you know, retirement, you know, that has to make you think a certain way if you're the general manager going into the season on the business aspect of it.
Holy shit, man. Trips, you son of a, because that definitely throws a wrinkle into everything. Like literally, I am going to, when this show is over, reach out to Ryan tomorrow morning and see when I can get his best availability. And hopefully when he gets here, he can clarify whatever that is, man. And he is absolutely family to Andrew Billings. I know that because I talked to him, and kids talked to him too. He knows that. And yeah, we're gonna get that straight, man. And let's park that conversation for now because I don't want to get too carried away and let the conversation go to left field when we don't really know. But golly, Trips, you just open up a door. You definitely just open up a door. But what we're gonna do now is move to here. And this is one of the things that I heard being discussed with Ben Johnson. And Ben Johnson talking about, now let me set this conversation up, kids and Trips. What Ben Johnson wants to do with this offense, I know for a fact that he has said, and you all know this too, that this won't be the same offense as it was in Detroit, right? We know that. And so, but what I can guarantee you, what I can absolutely 110% guarantee you, is that you won't be able to get away from this, what you're seeing right here. And that's play action under center. And one of the things I heard him say, it might have got lost in the sauce when people were listening to Ben Johnson talk about what he's going to do with Caleb Williams. And he's kind of talking about a stress test. He has no idea of how Caleb Williams will respond to him with the getting under center and using the play action, which is probably 80% of what made that offense in Detroit work. And that's just the running game and be able to do the play action bootleg off of it. If kids, you and I have done every single game this past season, every single game, we watched everything in vivid detail. We know for a fact that is where Caleb struggled mightily, right? When he was under center and trying to operate that offense under center, that's when you saw the most of his struggles. Ben Johnson is trying to parse his words when I hear him say that we're going to really, kind of test him to see how far we can go with this, because a large part of our success in Detroit with the run game came under center and play action. And it's true. I can show you the film if you need me to. I can pull up the film to show you guys. He's going to have to put the pressure on Caleb Williams to learn how to perform in that structure. And if that structure is not successful with him, I don't know how much success he's going to have with Caleb Williams. But I know this for a fact, that if they want to be successful, this is going to have to be a large part of what they do. That's 110%. I have no doubts about it. He's going to have to learn how to play under center. And that just comes with being a professional NFL quarterback. He's going to have to learn how to operate. So what do you guys think about that? Do you guys disagree with it, or did you hear anything different?
No, I don't disagree with the idea of there being more play action, more under center work. I don't disagree with the fact that he struggled at it last season. I agree with the fact that the left and right guard and center position on this team all last season were in flux, which really makes it almost impossible to be confident under center. I also agree that the run game was not sufficient. Again, whether that is due to the offensive line or due to the running back room, the verdict is still out. All of those things put together equal this. If they're loading up the box and expecting the run, and you can put the ball in the sky over top of them, that's explosive. Right? Like that's what was missing all season last year. We need to be able to put the ball in the hands of a running back, threaten that run so that there's more men in the box. And when he's under center, he can be explosive, pull the rock down and put it over top. Really simple science, to be honest with you. That just did not exist last season.
Trips is going to be emphasized here in Chicago. It's about can Caleb adjust to it. I don't know if you heard the interview, but me and Kez watch this shit every single Sunday, and it was definitely a hiccup for Caleb Williams. No question about it.
Well, yeah, that was not surprising. I mean, coming out, from USC, that was one of his negatives. Throwing the ball deep, which we saw play out real time. It's like, fuck, can you hit the open guys, kid? No, okay, we'll work on that. Play action. That's not what that offense did out there, so it was foreign to him. And then, we see what kind of situation he was in coaching-wise with, Shane Waldron and that whole staff. And so basically he wasn't being coached. So knowing what it takes to win in this league and takes to score points as Ben Johnson does, is that play action is a vital part of the game. Is that Caleb Williams, that's not one of his fortes. So that's something that he's going to have to learn how to do. And guess what? You know how to play football, but now you have to learn how to play your position in the pros. It seems like a fair comment, and it seems like something that Caleb would respect, being as he wants to be coached hard. So having those comments come from a coach that he respects, as we see from the communication that they've been having since he got hired, since the prank, after the prank rather. I think Caleb respects that, and it's like, okay, he's going into this offseason knowing, because he heard from his head coach, de facto offensive coordinator, that, hey, play action, work on that shit. So it's not going to be a surprise when we get to camp, and hopefully, Caleb is already doing, drop backs from under center in the offseason, when he's getting his timing down with the wide receivers, if he's working with them at all. So, hey, I like the direction. I like the message. And it's all good for now. It's still April, of course. We need to see it on the field. But the rhetoric, the attitude, and the general tones coming out of Howard's call and Coach Johnson, yeah, I like it. So far, I could see why he commanded that 15 or whatever mil a year.
So let me be really clear before I switch subjects, because I didn't plan on talking about this much longer, but that was just something that definitely stood out when I was listening to Ben Johnson talk. To be clear, this is just to give fairness to Caleb. Nobody, like, Caleb is capable. He's gotten more than enough talent to adjust to this way of playing football. He just has no experience doing it. In college, this is when you hear the scouts and the prognosticators talking about these quarterbacks and how well do their skill set transition to the NFL. And you start hearing about, guys that are running too much RPO, too much this, too much that. They're not really getting plays. Here's where it gets a little bit tight for Caleb. This is his very first year getting plays in a headset, remembering the plays, just being able to recall the plays, going into the huddle and being able to recite them, going up to the line of scrimmage and getting it down in the right time, making sure you get your protection slid right. What do I mean by slid right? You got to slide your protections up the right. Make sure you got that set up the right way. All that shit's going on in your head, and you're trying to get the play off in time. We saw too many times where he was just not in time and getting up to the line of scrimmage, and delay of games are happening. This isn't a shot at Caleb. It's just like sometimes you gotta hey, homie, that's an ugly baby. That baby's ugly. You gotta fucking tell the truth. And the truth is he wasn't ready for that because he was getting plays from the sideline in college, and he had never really been under center and had to really recite the shit in the huddle. So what he's doing is he's learning and he's growing as a quarterback. And what Ben Johnson knows that he's going to have to emphasize with Caleb to get him to the next level is to get him over that hump. Let me be really, really clear. Caleb Williams has every bit of the talent that he needs to do this job. He just hasn't had enough experience doing it. And he kind of bristles at the idea of being under center. He's not comfortable under center. He's comfortable in the RPO set. That's the way they set these quarterbacks up for failure in college. That's why some of these guys don't translate well to the NFL. So to understand what I just got through saying, just understand it's not a shot at Caleb. It's the way these college coaches are setting these players up. And so there's a player right now I can think about, top of my head. I've been quietly looking at Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. He's going to struggle the same way that Caleb did. But that doesn't mean he's not going to be a great quarterback someday. He's just going to have to learn how to play an NFL structure in a pro setting. To learn how to play under center, get a call from the sideline, memorize it, know what they are, get your checks, knowing how to get to your hot routes, slide your protection, all the shit that a quarterback has to deal with. So just don't get sensitive about the shit when I'm telling you, Caleb is going to have to go through a learning curve under Ben Johnson when it comes to playing under center, because Ben Johnson's offense, when it comes to the success rate, most of it came from when Jared Goff was under center in the running game. That's not going anywhere. Just letting you guys know that now. That's not going anywhere. He's going to have to learn how to play. And, that's a learning curve for him. Right or wrong, kids? Am I right or wrong?
You're 1,000,000,000% right. No, there's no questions here. He definitely needs a bit more work in that position. Facts is, again, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt because, again, he doesn't have a lot of snaps doing it under center, but it's a hard thing to trust with the way the other facets of the offense were working last season. That's it.
All right. Anything, Trip? Because we'll move on if you don't got anything.
Nah, yeah, we can move on.
All right. So this situation right here is going to open up the door for a bunch of conversations about whether or not. See, my opinion is this. A lot of people listen to me talk about how bad we need a left tackle. We need an upgrade at the left tackle. And I think people tend to think, and I might be probably the guilty party here, and might not have clarified myself well enough. Number one, I think Braxton Jones is a damn good tackle. Number one. And I think he has definitely overplayed where he was drafted. I think he's like I'm gonna do a film later on to show you why I think Braxton Jones is very good, so that you guys understand that I'm not anti-Braxton Jones. What I'm saying to you guys is there's certain things about a football player that you either have or you do not have. And it is clear to me, watching Braxton Jones on tape over and over and over again, and I have watched a lot of tape on Braxton Jones. This guy is really good. He is really good, and if he had more of a bottom to him, we'd probably be talking about a Pro Bowl left tackle. But because he doesn't, I think the door is open for somebody to come in and compete with him and take that job. And I believe that 110%. We're going to draft a guy, maybe not the very first guy that we draft, but it's very well going to be in that second, that 39 or 41st pick. We're going to end up with a left tackle. What I want to say here is Braxton Jones, with all that being said, Braxton Jones listened to Ben Johnson talk, and he might have said too much here, but it doesn't sound like Braxton Jones is going to be ready for training camp. I'm talking about the whole training camp. And what that's going to do is going to create the vacuum. The vacuum is it's going to be Kieran Amagaji, and it's going to be whoever they draft. I don't know that Jordan McFadden could be in that conversation. I don't know. But I know this, Braxton Jones, because he's injured, and if you're not available, things happen. This is how people lose their jobs. And Braxton Jones is in a very vicarious position right about now, kids. And I'll just save the rest of my comments for when you guys get done talking.
Yeah, like I say, honestly, I think that the coaches and Ryan Poles said a mouthful about this particular character. He's definitely overplayed his draft stock, being a 5th-round pick. I think he could start at left tackle for just about anybody in the NFL, unless you have like a superstar. You know what I mean? He could get a little bit more weight on his bottom half, and I believe that's something that Ben Johnson specifically echoed as well. Nomad, to your in agreement with what you've said in the past, very specifically, could put on a little bit of weight there. That would go a long way for him. But none of that matters if you can't make it onto the field come training camp, right? So that's really where we are. He just got the boot off. It's less likely that that's going to be the case. That then leads us to who's behind him, and the answer is Karan. And what we got from the coaching staff, etc., polls with respect to Karan was Karan kind of got a raw deal last year, got thrown into the wolves, didn't get a training camp or really the opportunity to work successfully with the starting team or the line. Thrown to the wolves in a Minnesota game where they just blitzed crazy, especially directly at him because they knew he was a weak link. It was a bad game. It was a raw deal, and so was the next game. So that being said, I think Karan will rise to the occasion and really challenge for this left tackle role. I also feel, just like you said, that they're going to pick a left tackle with either 39 or 41. I think it almost goes without saying, whether that's Jonas Savainea, whether it's Gray Zabel, who's rolled into the second round, whether it's Josh Connerly, Holland Pierce. It's a bunch of guys there that are available to step into what I would consider a depth position on that offensive line, even though they may wind up starting at the position for the first few weeks, potentially maybe even the whole season. Who knows? But left tackle is a competitive area for the Chicago Bears. Period. I think that's where we really are. Trips?
Well, I think that definitely has to be a area of concern because Braxton Jones, as much as we love him, 5th-round pick, all that good shit, yada yada yada. He is now just getting out of the walking boot and still walking with a limp. So he's not doing squats and strengthening his base, which is his detriment. He's excellent in the run block and get out there, but he can't, anchor against the bull rushes, and he can't get better and work on doing that now because he's still rehabbing his ankle that got pins in it or whatever. So Amagaji is was it Yale 3rd-round pick. He was injured. The talent is supposedly there, but he got a raw deal in his debut after not being able to practice, and that it wasn't a good look. But are we really going to say, all right, we fixed the offensive line, Ryan Bowles, and left tackle, and we'll bring back Braxton Jones in his contract year coming off of an injury, or we'll rely on the third round injured guy that hasn't played left tackle in the league before. That could be making it more of a priority to get more of a higher draft pick talent to compete for that position. And if they lose a position, now you got good depth going forward as somebody who you're looking to, either kick inside or take the position one day. So the health factor of Braxton Jones is playing a major factor in this. And it's not like he's going to make, that many more strides in the next 3 weeks before the draft. So if they're looking at a Connerly or whoever they like at left tackle, if Campbell falls to 10, and I was like, oh shit, if we're looking at him as a day one starter at left tackle, that's an upgrade over Braxton Jones and Amagaji. So now they can battle for the swing tackle depth backup positions or kick in the guard. So it's a nice position to be in, where it's like we have needs, but none so glaring that it's like, yes, at that pick we need to take this position.
Kid, you know what, man? I've seen us do this before, and there's a couple of guys that I can think of right off the top of my head. We just did not see the forest because of the trees, man. And I'm giving credit to Braxton Jones. I think Braxton Jones is damn good. I just don't think that no matter what, and I'll do a film, I'll do a all 22 on him coming up soon to show you that as good as he is, and he is fucking good. Like the more and more tape I look at on Braxton Jones, I'm like, there's really not an area of Braxton Jones game that suffers, other than him being able to anchor on a bull rush. Other than that, the occasional jumping off sides type of just discipline stuff that I think probably Caleb probably triggered, because I know for a fact I can show you a couple of instances that Caleb just wasn't right with the cadence, and Braxton was the one that was undisciplined and jumped outside. But overall, Braxton Jones is a very, very good left tackle. He just cannot, when it comes to third downs and getting the next play up and extending that chain. When it comes to him and he needs to stop the bull rush, there's nothing he can do. His lower body doesn't give him. He just wasn't blessed with that. And with all those, everything that I just said about Braxton Jones, there is this hiccup. There's going to be a team out there that Braxton Jones is coming into his contract year, right? There's going to be a team out there that says, you know what, we love Braxton Jones, and we think that because we got our team set up this way, we can play with Braxton Jones, and he's going to turn into one of the better left tackles in the league. I think we got here with kind of with James Daniels, I think, for the most part, and that kind of shit upsets me. He's going to require, when all is said and done, some team's going to pay him somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 million. And if it's the Bears, I don't know what to think about that, but somebody's going to pay Braxton Jones. I'm telling you right now.
So here we are. What do you do in a situation like this? Feel free to answer that with the standard KRS-One response. I think this is a prime opportunity for the Chicago Bears to draft a left tackle, whether it's in this draft and or the next draft or both, and actually get something for developing a player. Just saying. Been saying it for a little while now. We don't generally do this. You just brought up James Daniels. We drafted him, let him walk.
You're gonna have to sign him and trade him, kid. I mean, you're gonna have to sign him first.
You have to sign him to trade him?
Yes. Definitely under this circumstance. They're gonna make the Bears set the market for him. It's gonna be a team that's gonna be willing to pay him between 15, 18, some even 20 plus. But if the Bears don't set the market to show other teams how much we value this football player, no other team is going to reach and give them the assets that they deserve.
No, they don't have
Braxton Jones.
They don't have to. No, they don't have to sign him. Like I had to think about it. I hear what you're saying, but they don't have to. So, for instance, look at Chase Claypool. They didn't sign Chase Claypool.
Oh,
they traded him for a number 2, and we were stupid enough to give it away.
That's probably a bad comp, kid.
No, it's a great comp. Just by way of it, I'm not saying that the talent level is the same. I'm saying that that's a situation where the Pittsburgh Steelers did not pay the player. They traded him and got capital. I think this is a great situation for us if we bolster ourselves with a left tackle who's competent and have depth at that position to potentially get capital to fully replace this left tackle that we selected in the 5th round, as opposed to paying him big money.
All right. Well, I know one thing, Trips, unless you got some thoughts on this, I'm gonna migrate on to this next conversation. You got any more final thoughts on this?
Hey, Braxton's good, but he's not the be all end all. He is upgradable. And so we're looking at possibilities of, I don't know offhand, but looking at the tackles, coming back from your Campbells or your Connerleys. I don't know how many exactly, but I'm sure there are at least a few left tackles that we could draft in this year's with one of this year's picks in one of those mid rounds that will be an upgrade to Braxton Jones.
All right. My last thoughts on Braxton Jones is I'm going to show you guys at one point or another moving forward that Braxton Jones is a better left tackle than he gets credit for. And I might be one of the people in the crowd of trying to, I know we can get better than Braxton Jones. I know that. We can have a better tackle than Braxton Jones, but I'm telling you, his ability his foot speed, his burst, his ability to be able to mirror, to me, is up in the upper echelons. Like PFF, I hear that PFF gives him a really good grade. They grade him out really high as a left tackle. There's some things on tape that I think kind of adds to that argument that I can show you guys, and I'll show you guys moving forward. But he's really good, except at anchoring. Man, I mean, it is bad sometimes when it comes to anchoring. He will literally get walked right on back into the quarterback, and it doesn't take long at all. He just cannot. He doesn't have the leg strength and the lower body strength to sit down on pass rushers. He just can't do it. And either you're gifted with that body type or you're not. And he's just not gifted below the waist when it comes to that. He just doesn't have the strength. But, that's my thoughts about Braxton. Let me move on to this next and final topic, and which is the payday. I heard Ryan Pohl say, and I'm just going to not take the meat off the bone and let these guys go at it. The priority is to make sure that we take care of Kyler Gordon. What do you guys think about that? I know you heard it, kids. What do you think about it?
Kyler, man, does whatever Kyler can. You know what I'm saying? Like, the kid's amazing, and he deserves – somebody should throw some level of a bag at him, whether it's a plastic bag, a paper bag, a Gucci bag. I don't know. Just hopefully the bag is filled with cash. You know what I'm saying? So as long as that is some level of a priority to the Chicago Bears, I am in full agreement with this. I just don't know when you do it, right? Then that was really the question they were asking. Like, do you do this like immediately? And if I was Ryan Poles, I would be like, well, like, I want to do it, but I don't really want to do it now. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know
what to set the market early, man. Get it out of the way early.
That is a good way of thinking about it, right? The other way of thinking about it is like, what if shit hits the fan and I need that money to do something? You know what I mean?
Well, kids, maybe I'll do, and I'll invite you in for this video because we're having this conversation now. I'll show you on film where Dennis Allen employs his slot corner in a way that once he hits the field, come game 1 and game 2, game 3, game 4, and moving on, he's just going to exponentially increase his value because of the usage that Dennis Allen has with his slot corner. Ryan Poles is going to sit there and watch this guy's value go up and up and up and up, and he's going to pay him way more than he would have paid him right now. I'm telling you, if you want to come in for that all 22, I will welcome you just to show you that it'll be a mistake by Ryan Poles not to fucking get this done now.
All right, holler at me. I'll try and jump in. That's actually hilarious because, you know, I guess he's sort of okay. So Courtney Cronin was sort of speaking about this a little bit herself. I was watching her.
What'd she say?
Well, she was just saying, like, is this like what you do now? Do you just wait and let these guys bet on themselves and then just pay out the nose for them, or do you get in front of it? Right? That was basically what she was saying. Shout out to you, Courtney. You do good work. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm kind of there with you as well. You're right. Dennis Allen is going to employ Kyler as that, truly as a joker, right? Like he's going to be your joker on the Bears, and he did a little bit of that type of duty last season for Matt Eberflus. But I know a lot of the attack mode here is get pressure with 4 and then send Kyler to overwhelm him, right? So hopefully that's a situation. Keep those linebackers where they are, have them do their job. And I think that's an awesome modus operandi for the Bears in 2025. And if that's what the defense looks like, which is kind of what the Dennis Allen defenses have looked like in the past, you know, Kyler Gordon gonna get paid, whether it's now or whether it's later in the year.
He's gonna be, and there's gonna be a safety, whether could be Kevin Byard, and
probably.
One thing you learn about watching a lot of Dennis Allen tapes trip is he loves man-to-man coverage. He loves zero blitzes, and that's everybody and 3 people in coverage. And he loves less nickel. He'll play some nickel, but he favors dime coverages when he needs to get guys off the field. So what dime is basically, you know, base coverage is corner on both sides. You got your slot, corner on both sides, and then 2 safeties. So you got 2 corners, 2 safeties. Nickel coverage is 2 corners, 2 safeties, and extra corner, right? When the extra corner comes on the field, a linebacker comes off. And so the 3rd linebacker comes off the field. So in dime coverage, basically what you get is 1 linebacker, you get 2 corners on each side, plus the nickel corner, the 2 safeties, plus another safety. And so you see a lot of dime coverage when it comes to Dennis Allen. And there's going to be a safety gotten here. And where he's gotten, I don't know. But that safety, the nickel corner, the middle linebacker, they're going to have heavy roles in what Dennis Allen wants to do. And it's going to be a lot of speed. Did they not tell you over and over again? Well, Ryan Poles let you know that Dennis Allen really prioritizes speed, just attacking and speed. Like we said before, kids, that's just the way he plays. Get after that motherfucker. I don't care what you do. Just get him. You know what I mean? Just get him. Take advantage of him and make your presence be known. That's what you see over and over again with Dennis Allen. But I'm telling you, if they wait, kids, I'm telling you, Trips, if they wait too long to sign this guy, if they try to delay this shit and try not to give this guy his market value now, his market value will increase exponentially.
I don't think that's really a concern that I have with Ryan Poles. You know, we see him get the contracts done when push comes to shove, like when he traded for Sweat. It's like, oh, no, now he can't sign a deal because Sweat has all the leverage. Ryan Poles has none. He's an idiot. And then Sweat signs a deal, and you look at the deals, and it's like, oh, that's fair market value for what Montez Sweat is. And you look at Jalen Johnson's contract. At the time, it was like, you know, he's trying to reset cornerback markets. And it was like, man, that's a lot of money for a dude that don't get interceptions. He got a few interceptions, and then he didn't get no more, but we're not going there. But he got paid, and then we look at now the contracts that cornerbacks are getting. It's like, man, JJ, we got him at a pretty good deal. At 19 a year, now those prices are going up to 25 a year. And being that Ryan Poles came out and specifically said Kyler Mann is in line for a contract, that tells you that Kyler Mann's in line for a contract. But it's to do with like the league years, and it's the off season. And if I remember correctly, extensions happen before and during the preseason, so it'll happen. And he's not going to overpay because we know how Ryan Poles does. He does not overpay. And Kyler Mann, he looks like he's happy here, so it'll work out. I'm thinking before the season actually starts. And I did something about Dennis Allen that you brought up, that where they want Booker to put on like 10, 15, 20 pounds.
Oh, really?
Where'd you hear that one?
One of my connections. You know what I'm saying? I can't reveal names, but yeah, I don't know where the fuck I saw it. Booker, they want him a little bit heavier.
That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense, man. He's another one. I'll break down him later on, but I can see that because he like you would be so pleasantly surprised watching Austin Booker just have an impact on the game. Like when the player's going away from him, like it is so fun to watch this guy play football, man. The effort and the he was just getting used to the NFL speed, the power, and everything else that comes with the NFL. You're on a different level. You're watching this guy learn in real time on a different level. And I'm scared of that motherfucker once he really gets it. Austin Booker is going to be crazy good. I'm telling you right now, he's going to be crazy good. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. But good Lord. But kids, I will show you if you want to. I'll wait until later on in the evening when you're off. If you want to do trips, if you want to come in and do the all 22 breakdown on what Dennis Allen does with his slot corners, I'll show you that Kyler Gordon is definitely going to have high usage in this defense. And if he doesn't pay this dude before the season, he's going to come out of his ass for
it. That's so funny because it's true though. That's the one that one's a guarantee.
Man, it'd be fun to watch. I'm just letting y'all know now. If y'all want in, we can do it. I'll do it later on for y'all. Yeah. Holy shit, it's fun to watch. And it's I can't think of the guy's name, number one at New Orleans, man. This motherfucker. He's all over the field for Dennis Allen, but that's Kyler in this defense. They just attack people, man. They're not trying to confuse people. They're not trying to do a whole lot of disguises. They're going to come downhill at your ass and make you make decisions. And you're going to throw the ball in the wrong place. And that's why they're in the tops of the league in turnovers, man, because Dennis Allen keeps his foot on the gas. But it's fun to watch, man. But that's what we got for tonight, you guys, man. It was fun. We kept it real. We kept it G for you guys. But that's what we do with the Nomad Network, man. These three motherfuckers get on a podcast. You can expect that. Guaranteed, man. It's a good time. We're going to provoke conversation every single time we have a podcast. Did we not do that tonight, kids, before you do your pleasantries? We provoked the shit out of everybody.
I think we provoked each other. We definitely provoked the chat, provoked George McCaskey, potentially Kevin Warren, and, hopefully Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson, too. I think everybody's provoked. Trips provoked. I'm provoked. You're provoking. Let's see what I did there. Anyways, hey, that's me. Do me a favor, go check me out at my side of the world at Kedza Canuck, please. I'm going to throw this in the chat for all you guys who are watching the show now. By all means, give me a little bit of love on my side of the network. I'm trying to grow that channel. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, just a little bit of love. My God, the Scrolls has already done it. Marlon Johnson's already done it. ATF has already done it. Be like them, please. We'd appreciate it. And so would my guy Triple R at Sports Chicago Style. By all means, check him out. Give him a little bit of love. at all the socials. He's all over the socials doing the social thing. You can catch me at Twitter too if you want to holler at me. I can accept that too. So like Kids Canuck at Twitter as well. But mostly just the YouTube. YouTube is awesome. You're on YouTube already. Ain't no thing. Already sub, Chris Foster said. Big up to you, Chris. Thanks, Immortal. I appreciate it, Immortal. Oh, that's the Naj. Man, Naj. Me and Naj are chopping it up on the other on the Twitter side. Speak of the devil, by all means. Get at me if you want like actual personal conversation. I'm like a real person, so like I talk to folks sometimes. Anyways, but yeah, I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed watching sort of getting up with Ben and Ryan and even Kevin Warren this week. It was interesting catching up with all three of those guys because God only knows what they have in their minds right now. And at the same time, God only knows what they cannot divulge to the wanting public, right? So as our friend Greg Gabriel would say, it's lying season. He said it a couple of times on the show. It's definitely lying season. Take what you will with a little bit of a grain of salt. No, that's not a shot at Olin Kreutz. Mad love.
Kids, they lying and they letting you know it. You know what they're saying to you?
What?
Swallow it and shut the fuck up.
Yeah, sounds about right, Red Fox. That sounds about right, man. But that's the way that I see it. I think there's a lot of espionage, a lot of subterfuge, and if you saw a bit of a deer in the headlights with Ben Johnson, I saw the exact opposite. I saw a guy who has a clear vision of what he's about to get himself into. And I think he answered all the questions very intelligently and with the utmost understanding of what he's planning to do in this coming draft. And I also saw the same thing with Ryan Poles. No BS answers. A lot of wax on, wax off. Danielson. Trips.
Yeah. Thanks to Nomad, to Kids. Shout out to the dude. Shout out to
dude. What's up, dude?
Of the No Maniacs, whether you are watching live and in person right now in living color, or watching it on a replay at your own convenience. Shout out to you. As Ked said earlier, when he was quoting the great philosopher KRS-One, love's gonna get you. We love these Bears, and these Bears are gonna get you. Whether it's from the ownership and George to the president Warren and his politicking with the stadium, to Ryan Poles and his starring moment in the draft coming up in a few weeks, and then he'll pass that baton on to head coach Johnson and the rest of the staff. So we have a brain trust in this organization and how it's all coming together, y'all. Be excited for it. Wait for it to actually materialize. I'm not saying get Super Bowl tickets, but we're going in a direction more positive than we have been in a long fucking time.
And if you don't like it,
Get the hell out of here before I kick your little ass.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why, we have the viewership and the participation from fellow Bears fans as we do, because they all feel the same way. And so that's why you support the Nomad Network. That's why you support, Kids Canuck. And that's why you should be subscribed to Sports Chicago Style, my, toe dip into the content creation realm. And I hope you enjoy what we're putting out, because we enjoy putting it out for you.
That's right. That is absolutely right. And I know people cussing at me. I can think of a couple of people right now in the chat that want to be saying some shit to me, but I know this.
I ain't gonna be too many more motherfuckers, yeah?
Period. Now, I'm telling you right now. But, this is a good show, man. We had time, and I'm having time with the drops right now. And let me set this up. Give me a second. Let me get this overlay off. Hold on. Caught me off guard because I'm trying to be funny right now. Let me get the guys on the screen. Listen, man, this is a good show. And what happened today was a compilation of what we all heard in the in the pressers, the press spray that they had down to owners meetings. And what I took from them and what kids took from them, what Trips took from them, is 3 different orbits probably right about now. But I think there's commonality in the conversations that we had tonight. And one being, we could argue about whether or not we should be drafting in the trenches or whether we should be drafting an impact player. There's valid arguments to be had for either one of those conversations. But I know this. There is no way that we can screw this up at this point. Only thing we can do is
there are punters available.
What?
I'm just saying.
What? How can we screw this up?
I'm just saying there's punters available in the draft.
I mean, I think in your mind, I believe in your mind, if we don't get Ashton Genty, if given that pick, I think in your mind we totally screw this up.
No. So look, there's
I
really
that. I hope you're beyond.
No. They're at a level right now where again they don't even Ashton Genty, they don't have to be beholden to a specific player or position. I do think he is probably the biggest impact player available in and around the 10 position. If they get their hands on him, I'll be happy. I think that, again, he will have a major impact on our run game situation. That's my thoughts. If they can get their hands on one of the other running backs that I consider in those top 4 or 5 backs, I may also feel very similarly as they continue on to the draft, on through the draft. If they select somebody else at 10, I just don't know how this thing is going to fall, and if Genty's even going to be available. So, I'm not. My heart isn't set on anything. I'm just saying, please God, don't pick a punter. That's all I'm saying. Really,
I can tell you this: I won't be mad, and based on the angling they've set up and where they're pointing, I would not be mad. Number one, Ashton Genty is a superior football player. Right off the top of my head, he's a very superior football player. He's a great running back. So is Tyler Warren at tight end. He's a great tight end, and I can definitely see that guy being a problem in this offense and being a multiplier in a lot of different ways with his skill set. If they drafted either one of those 2 players, I wouldn't be mad. Here's my argument. With everything that's been done, what the roster looks like, and what I know is going to be a necessity, we have to layer those trenches. We did good work in the offseason, making sure we signed key guys to get us where we need to be and have us competent. But to layer this situation and make sure that they have proper guys coming behind them is what winning football teams do. And again, the sexy pick would be an Ashton Genty, would be a Tyler Warren. But I think I think the picks that really is going to last the test of time ain't the sexy ones. It's going to be the ones in the trenches that you be like, oh, okay, we just traded for a guard. We just we did all this stuff in free agency, and people just don't see it that way when they're looking at the draft. They don't see that the really good teams have multiple players that can step in and play that role and play it well. We don't have that yet. That's what needs to be kind of hammered home to the fan base is we have a very good starting 5. We have a really good starting 5. But the guys behind them is a bunch of hits and misses. We don't know what we have. And so for that very reason is why I come to this show with this energy. There's no reason in the world why you shouldn't continue on what you just started in free agency. Continue on layering on in the trenches. That's exactly what you should be doing. But that's my opinion. That is just my opinion. And if we don't,
I agree with your opinion.
Okay. If we don't do that, kids, I'm gonna be fine with it. I'm not gonna go off and go postal on anybody. I'm gonna see it for what it is, and they saw it a different way than I did. I'm just a guy that's doing a podcast to play football. I have an opinion, and I'll let that be known to the world, and that's that. But one thing I would say to you guys, you got something you want to say, kids?
Well, I'm just saying I believe they can do both sexy and practical.
Okay, but at what point? You know what I mean? That's the argument.
Those first three picks, in my opinion, are somewhat interchangeable. You can get practical depth at 10 and 39, and then get like an Omarion Hampton if he's available, or you might miss out on those first two guys, those first two running backs, and you have your depth, and you'll have to wait till later to get your running back if that's what you're trying to do. There's ways to spin this where the depth happens in the trenches, and the running back is still available. And that's really what I'm trying to say. You can be sexy here. You can get your Rick James on, get your OnlyFans on, and still get practical and sensible and put your glasses on too.
Yeah, it's I do think Ryan Poles has the intention to move back. I don't think he'll have a lot of resistance in there, other than the people that will stand on the table for their position group. There's going to be the Ashton Genty and Eric Bieniemy. There's going to be the tight end coach hollering about Tyler Warren. That's going to be loud. And if the opportunity presents itself, kids, for the Bears to move back and get what they think is proper compensation for that pick, I don't think Ryan Poles, in my opinion, should hesitate to do that, because you got to remember he's a college guy, man. He's a college scouting guy, and what they do is scout college players, and he's going to anybody that calls him and offers him an extra pick or two is going to be very attractive to him. And I think you move out of the first round, but that's just my opinion. That might sound crazy to a bunch of people.
No. Even that doesn't sound crazy to me either. If the opportunity to snag another second round pick and potentially a third, something like that, bruh, I can't even make the suggestion that you don't do that for a single player. Right? I can't.
Kids, if you operated as well as the Bears did in the offseason, pull off the things that they pulled off, the trades, the pickups that they got, how do you end up with how does Grady Jarrett end up here of all places? Grady Jarrett could have went anywhere in the NFL. You got a straight up impact player on that defensive front. You got him here in Chicago, along with the moves you made along your offensive front. You got Dio Dingbo, who could have went anywhere too. And I'll show you what he can bring to the table later. But you made all that happen. Now you're in a position with the number 10 pick. And you can't get greedy here because you really, really like a player. Dude, layer the shit out of this team. Layer the shit out of this team with a plethora of guys. And that's what I really look forward to. Just not being greedy right there. You're in a position where you don't have to draft anybody at 10. You don't need anybody at 10, but you want certain things going on with your roster. In order to get to that and satisfy your offensive coordinator, your defensive coordinator, and the GM, you're going to have to try to move back and get you some more picks. That's the only way everybody's going to get satisfied. Period.
It is the best modus operandi to solve all the problems with the Bears this season. It is very similar to what I was screaming about last draft. I was all about a trade back to get capital to do exactly that over the course of that season's draft and this season's draft. At this point, I'm a little bit less fussed with it. If they decide to stay at 10 and get an impact player, I'm clearly on the Genty train. It took me a long time to get there. I'll be honest with you. I'm all about the trade back under normal pretenses. It took me a while to come to an understanding that, this kid might be something a little bit special, and the Bears could use some special.
The cat is super duper tough, and I'm tempted to let this podcast go on for a little bit longer. But here's the deal, and I might be speaking out of turn a little bit, but I'm gonna holler at my boy. Might have a special guest for you guys on Friday. I'm gonna talk to him tomorrow to see if we can solidify a show on Friday, and Hopefully these two guys will come with me. This will be a good opportunity for everybody to be involved. But hopefully Friday you guys will get a podcast, and we're gonna have some fun on that one if we do it. I got a good feeling that we probably will, but we'll leave that for now and say this to you guys. I thank you guys for being here. Everybody that was involved, every person in the chat. Go Blue. Special shout out to Go Blue, man, being so generous.
My boy Blue.
When he comes in here. And the Valkyrie woman, thank you for being here. I hadn't seen her in a long time, and it was just it was very, very pleasing to see her here after we monetized this show a long time ago, but it really ain't that long ago. But we did that, and I haven't seen her since then. She said she couldn't wait to donate to us because she likes what we do. We appreciate you guys for loving what we do. And we do it for you guys, man. There ain't no reason other than we know that we're receptive to you all. And so that is just a love that we'll always have for you guys. We thank you one more time for being here. But I got to leave you guys with these famous words. If you can think it and you can see it, there's no reason in the world why you cannot absolutely manifest it. Do not, and I repeat, do not be a prisoner of your own mind. But with that being said, we are out.